My psycho roommate thinks that she owns half of my stuff, all because she pays half the rent. But now that I'm moving out and no longer renewing the lease, she's realizing the hard way that she has absolutely no say over my property, which for me is deeply satisfying and incredibly funny. Here's what's happening. I'm a 21-year-old male and I live with a 27-year-old female roommate who thinks that she is entitled to half of my things when I move out. Now, it all started off small. She would hide some of the dishes and silverware that I bought in her room and then claim them as hers to use. And it's like, okay, fine, as long as I still have some to use for myself, I don't really care. Then she started getting rid of stuff that she didn't like. And this included a few of my rugs, my throw pillows, small decorating items, etc. Well, this is when I started to get annoyed. I told her that she can't just get rid of my stuff without asking. She then said that it's her apartment too, and that she deserves to feel at home. I then asked if there was anything I could do to make her feel more at home, and she said she wanted to live in a clean apartment, which is funny coming from the person who leaves all the housework for me to do. I asked her what she meant by a clean apartment, since I do keep things tidy and neat, and she told me at her parents' house, they don't have any decorations on the walls. They don't have any rugs, they have minimal furniture, etc. And I guess she just wants to live in an empty white box. She then told me that she's a very picky person, and she doesn't like any of my stuff cluttering her space. She even told me that she hates my couch and would get rid of it if she was able to move it herself. Things like this kept happening over the course of a year and a half, until I finally decided to let her know that I did not want to renew our lease for a second time. Well, she was angry and said that I was forcing her to move back in with her parents. But I told her that wasn't my problem and that she had 6 months to figure something out. I've already started packing some of my things, which is where all the trouble really started. She asked me why I was taking so much stuff, and I told her, well, I'm taking it because it's mine. I had already owned most of it before we even started looking at apartments together. She said that I can't do that since she pays half the rent and that I would be leaving her with nothing. I told her that I thought that's what she wanted, you know, her own space without all my stuff cluttering it up. Well, she then got really pissed off and now she's on the phone with her parents. At this point, I feel nothing but deep satisfaction at knowing that she won't be able to steal, throw away, or insult my belongings to my face ever again. She is way too grown up to be acting the way that she is. I can't believe she expected me to just hand over half my stuff as if we were a married couple getting a divorce. Not today, idiot. Have fun picking out all your stuff because you are absolutely not taking mine. Okay, dude, this is some crazy behavior because what is going on? She really did think she could take half of your stuff like you guys are getting divorced. Like, that is not how this works at all. Like, what is her problem? She simultaneously wants to take all of your stuff, but also throw out the stuff that you already have, as if she's the landlord and you're like the tenant. Like, what's going on, dude? You can't do that. But I will say, her behavior is really sketchy and I would not trust her for a second. Like, in my opinion, I would probably clean out the apartment of anything that's yours sooner than later and try to get that off to storage or like get a friend to help you out or something, because I can absolutely see this lady doing that before you and being like, oh, it was already my stuff, I'm gonna keep it. Like, this lady seems like the kind of person who would absolutely rob you blind without you ever realizing it. And I'm sure it would happen when you least expect it too. So maybe take some pictures and like document everything that is yours and secretly start that process today just so she can't try to screw you over later. Because based on what you've described, this lady sounds incredibly unhinged and I would definitely not put it past her.
If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories.
Am I the jerk for refusing to be my boyfriend's unpaid customer service rep? All because I feel completely taken advantage of. Because after my boyfriend called me his little secretary, I feel very insulted and honestly, I'm just really tired of doing all the work. And at this point, I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 28-year-old female and I work full-time in an actually pretty stressful administration job. My boyfriend, who I will call Dan for the sake of the story, started a side hustle last year refurbishing old game consoles and selling them online. And you know what? I was super supportive in the beginning. I helped him set up his shop page, I took some of the original photos, I proofread his listings and all that other stuff. And you know what? This was kind of fun at first. Fast forward to now and he is doing pretty well. Not quit your job well, but enough orders that our living room constantly has bubble wrap snow and controller cables pretty much everywhere. The problem is that as his orders grew, he just kind of quietly assigned me all the people-related work because, oh, you're better with words, as he would say. At first it was just, hey babe, can you check this message? English is not their first language and I don't understand what they want. want. But then it turned into, hey, can you reply to this guy? I'm in the middle of fixing something. Now, my reality is that after my own 9 to 5, I come home, open my laptop, and answer complete strangers demanding discounts, as well as tracking numbers and tech support, all because Dan gets anxious and shuts down whenever someone is mad at him in writing. It got really bad 2 weeks ago when one order arrived late because of the shipping company. The buyer sent this essay calling the console a scam, and they even threatened to do a chargeback. While I'm in the middle of cooking, Dan comes in shoving his phone at my face going, please fix this, I can't deal with it. And I just told him that I would help him after dinner. He then literally stood in the kitchen reading the messages out loud and panicking until I finally turned the stove off, sat down and wrote this very calm professional reply, attached screenshots from the tracking site, offered a small partial refund, literally just the whole customer service package. Eventually, the guy calmed down and even left a nice review in the end. Dan then joked and said, see, this is why you're my little secretary. He then kissed me on the forehead and went back to his workshop. I laughed in the moment, but later it sat really weird with me. I realized I was spending like 45 minutes to an hour most evenings just answering questions for his store, on top of occasionally packing boxes when he was behind. I brought it up last weekend and I suggested that if he wanted me to keep doing that level of work, then maybe we should treat it like an actual job. Not a full salary or anything like that, but a small cut of the profits or at least a clear limit, like, okay, I will do one more round of messages a day and that is it. Well, when I said that, he got offended and said that I was acting like some corporate robot, that apparently partners just help each other out, and that I was putting a price on kindness. I reminded him that when I stayed late at my own job, he complains that we never see each other, but then expects me to clock in for his shop for free. He then said that answering messages is not real work because I'm just sitting there, and I type fast anyways according to him, and that comment really pissed me off a lot more than I expected. So this week I tested a boundary. I told him ahead of time that I was going to have a crazy few days, and I would not be checking his shop messages at all. I even wrote him a little template that he could copy paste for common questions. Well, predictably, on day 2, he came into the bedroom with those puppy eyes and handed me the phone, but I gently said to him, no, I told you that I'm off customer service duty this week. When I said that, he got snappy and said that I was letting his business fail. He then said to me, you know that I'm bad with words, and that if I actually believed in him, I would help instead of watching him struggle. I answered back that I do believe in him, which is exactly why he needs to learn this part too, because customer service is part of running a business, and he can't just dump the boring bits on whoever he dates. Well, we ended up in a full argument and he actually slept on the couch. The next morning, he sent me a long text from the living room about how hurt he was and how I made him feel small when all he wanted was support. I then replied by saying that I love him, I'm proud of his hustle, and I am still happy to occasionally help, but I'm not his free employee and I'm done being treated like one. Now he's giving me cold shoulder energy and making little comments like, oh, don't worry, I'll handle it myself. Wouldn't want you to send an invoice for emotional labor. My best friends say that I should stand my ground because this will only get worse if the shop grows. But his sister thinks that I was too harsh and that it was just a few messages, so like, why am I making a big deal out of it? So truly, am I the jerk for refusing to keep doing unpaid customer service work, even though I can technically do it faster and better than him? What should I do? Okay, in my opinion, I don't think you're the jerk at all because this is kind of one of those situations where he's asking just a little bit too much. Like seriously, it seems like he's going way beyond what should be like reasonable in a relationship, and instead of this being like, hey, can you help out every now and then, it really is becoming like a full-time second job for you. And that's not fair, like you already work hard enough as it is. I know for a fact the part that really pissed me off is when he's like, oh, you're my little secretary. Like, dude, what are you doing, man? That's like so condescending and rude. Your girlfriend is literally helping you out free of charge. Does he not realize that he's biting the hand that's feeding him? So yeah, if I was in your shoes, I would have done the same thing by now. I would have told him that, hey, I can't keep doing this for free, this is too stressful, and you're literally just shoveling all of this on my plate without even like asking me anymore. So yeah, this guy definitely needs to get a grip and stop relying on you solely, because in my opinion, this is just a little bit unfair. Am I the jerk for refusing to redo a project for my group after they literally ignored everything that I contributed? Because right now, things have gone south very fast, and at this point, I don't know if I'm in the wrong. Here's what happened. I'm 19 years old and I'm fresh into university, and I have a pretty good passion towards my major, so I don't mind working on it. We had a huge group assignment worth a chunk of our grade, and our lecturer told us clearly that everyone had to contribute fairly, and that the group was going to be marked as a whole. Well, the groups were random, and I ended up in a group with 3 other people that I didn't really know. And at first, everything was okay for like maybe the first week or so. We made a plan, we divided the sections, and we set the deadlines for the assignment. I finished my part early and I sent it to the group chat asking if anyone wanted edits or changes to be made just in case they weren't happy with it. Now, nobody ended up replying after like 2 days, so I assumed that everything was okay and I shifted my focus to my other courses. A week later, when we met up to combine everything together, I realized that they had rewritten my entire section without even telling me. Not just edited or paraphrased. I mean like completely rewritten my entire work. They started from scratch and replaced all of it. When I asked why, they said they felt like doing it themselves and that it would flow better and synchronize with their work more, which seemed like an outrage to me because they should have told me if they were working on it together outside of university. I told them that they could have at least told me to rewrite it, but when I said that, they just brushed it off and said it wasn't personal. But to me, it really did feel personal. 2 days after that, one of them messaged me saying that the rewritten section wasn't good enough and asked me to redo it from scratch. They also wanted it done within a day because the deadline was close. But you know what? I flat out said no. I told them that I already did my part. They ignored it, rewrote it behind my back, and now they expect me to fix their mess at the last minute? Who do they think they are thinking that would ever happen? That started a whole argument where they accused me of being lazy, uncooperative, and risking their grades, saying just because I didn't care about education, I shouldn't drag them down with me. I then told them that if they didn't like their version, then that really was not my problem. When I refused again, they kept pushing until someone in the group said that they were going to tell the lecturer that I was refusing to contribute to the assignment. Well, I screenshotted everything, my completed work, the messages, the timestamps, and everything, and then I emailed my lecturer personally to make them aware of the situation and to send the photos over as proof. And now the group is furious with me because the lecturer told them that he would be assessing contribution individually instead of giving one group grade. And now they're blaming me for so-called overreacting and in turn punishing everybody else instead of just fixing the situation that the group had, which mind you, they caused. I told my parents about it and they said that I should have just done it to maintain the peace. But my friend said that they're just using me as a backup and got caught, so that's kind of like reassuring in a way. But seriously, am I the jerk for not doing the work? Because right now I'm really frustrated and I just don't know what to do. Okay, first off, no, you're not the jerk. These people suck. If you've ever worked in like a group setting or some kind of like situation where you have to rely on other people, especially in college, then you know the struggle the original poster's going through. Because holy crap, I've been there and oh my gosh, this really can get so much worse. First of all, like what was the point of that first meeting where you gave out responsibilities if people weren't gonna do it? Like holy crap, you did your section early. You said, hey guys, do you wanna re-edit any of this? And instead of responding, they're like, oh, we rewrote it. Don't worry, this is fine. But the worst part about that is that they circled back and said, hey, redo this from scratch. By the way, you have until like tomorrow or something. And it's like, dude, what are you talking about? That is unfair for me. You cannot seriously expect me to write this entire section for this group project overnight, especially when the original poster literally already did it. Like, dude, what are we talking about? This is so dumb. So no, you are definitely not the jerk. There is no way in the world I would ever redo that project, especially when I did it once before. Like, if anything, I would just resubmit what I already had in the first place and be like, here you go, this is what we've got. If you don't like it, too bad. And also, I think messaging your instructor was like the best move you could ever make because these people were clearly coordinating to like screw you over completely. And I really think speaking up first and showing them everything probably saved your grade. Am I the jerk for getting written up after training a coworker who complained to my boss that I was condescending to them? Because right now it looks like my job might be in jeopardy, and at this point I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. I'm a 24-year-old female and I work as a graphic designer at a small agency. And for reference, I've been there for almost 3 years. When we hired my coworker, who I will call Sophia, about 4 months ago, my manager, who I will call Peter, asked me to train her since I know our systems best. Now I said yes, and I was actually really excited to mentor someone. So for 3 months, I trained her. I showed her our software, our file organization, our client communication style, how we do revisions, literally everything. I made her cheat sheets. I stayed late to answer questions. I even checked her work before it went to clients so she wouldn't get in trouble for mistakes. And you know what? I thought it was all going really well. She never said anything was wrong. Well, 2 weeks ago, Peter pulled me into his office. He said that Sophia had filed a complaint that I was condescending and that I made her feel stupid during training. That apparently I talked down to her and acted acted superior. But when I heard this, I was completely blindsided. So I asked for some examples. He said that she felt undermined when I corrected her work, and that I sighed too much when she asked questions. But I corrected her work because that's my job. I was training her. Training involves corrections. And I don't even remember sighing. Like maybe I was just breathing? I don't know. He didn't ask for my side of the story. He didn't even investigate. He just told me that he was giving me a written warning for creating a hostile work environment. And it's like, dude, a hostile work environment for training someone? I was literally doing exactly what he asked me to do. I then asked if we could have a mediated conversation with Sophia, just so I could understand what went wrong. But he said to me that that would just make her uncomfortable. So it's like, okay, her comfort matters, but mine doesn't? Well, now Sophia's walking around the office getting praised for speaking up and being brave. Meanwhile, I have a written warning on my record that could affect my raises, my promotions, like literally everything. Like she won't even look at me now. And when I tried to approach her professionally, just to ask if we could talk about this, she went straight to Peter and said that I was intimidating her. Now I don't know what to do. I've been crying in the bathroom on my breaks. I feel like I'm being punished for doing my job, and I don't even understand what I did wrong. What should I do? Okay, honestly, I think there's a lot to unpack here, but first and foremost, the original poster went on to say that this is literally some kind of like nepotism situation, because Peter is Sophia's uncle. So it's like, holy crap, the original poster is set up to fail. I don't know about you, but dealing with like family businesses like that is the absolute worst. And as someone who's been in that scenario, trust me, it is not a fun time. If someone who works there that's related to the owner is in a bad mood, or just doesn't like the fact that you're doing your job, then they will go out of your way to make sure you get fired. And from the sounds of it, it kind of seems like you're in that situation. You have a toxic boss, you have a toxic manager, even if you didn't realize it. And right now, they're siding with their niece instead of with their 3-year employee, who's obviously got a lot of experience and done a lot of work for your job. Like, dude, these people suck. They're basically allowing some little brat to come in there and be like, oh, I'm being intimidated by this person. They're making me feel unwelcome. I can't stand this. And it's like, holy crap, what's going on right now? You were literally training them to try and get them up to speed. But obviously, in retrospect, you were probably training your replacement. And that's horrifying. Like, that really is so bad. So if I was in your shoes, I would be getting my resume together and I would start looking for another job tomorrow. I would do the bare minimum required of me, and I would absolutely not talk to any of these people, while also applying for a job literally anywhere. Because I don't know if you realize this, but your days are probably pretty much numbered there. So hopefully you can find another job that's better than this, because these people are really throwing you under the bus. And it's all over stuff that you didn't even do, which in my opinion is so much worse. My entitled coworker keeps deleting my paired phone from the shared work trucks that we drive. So I decided to get some revenge by deleting her name instead and pairing my phone under her name just to confuse her, resulting in weeks of frustration on her end. And honestly, I couldn't be happier because this coworker absolutely deserves it. Here's how it happened. Okay, for starters, I'm the other guy at work who gets called in when things go sideways. And I say the other guy as in one of two. Anyways, as a result, I get to slip seat my substantial tail into all the trucks when their regular drivers unexpectedly call out for any of a million stupid reasons. With myself, the other sideway, the driver, and supervisor, there's usually 4 or 5 phones paired with Bluetooth in every company truck. Well, there's this one chick who I've learned has developed a dislike for me in the only 5 months I've been here, constantly complaining to everyone about how she doesn't like for me to drive her truck. I mean, as a slip, I make sure I clean up after myself and I don't adjust settings like the mirrors or the seats, and I make sure that all the tools go back to how I found them and so on. But it just really sucks when I have to drive her truck because I'm 6 foot 2 inches and she's like literally under 5 feet tall, and she's angry, and I'm never excited to run a 10-hour shift with a steering wheel rubbing against my chest all day. But regardless, I persist because I'm a stubborn jerk and it's just how I'm wired. Over the past couple of months, I've noticed a pattern where I have to repair my phone every time I get in her truck, plus anytime I get into one that she's rotated through. Looking through the device list, my phone's the only one that gets deleted, while the other 2 outsiders are left alone. It's a minor annoyance, but it is still an annoyance. And being a professional that I am, I'm not at all fond of annoyances. I started to pair my phone under different names to maybe see what's the deal, but guess what? It would still get deleted. So clearly, I'm being targeted. But then brilliance hit me. I changed the name of my pairing to match hers, moved the preferred pairing to me, and then I deleted hers. Now, the result is no apparent change in the truck, and I can play my music whenever I want. And you know what? I've been doing this for about 3 weeks now. Plus, I've been doing it on days I don't even drive her truck. Every time I I hit the yard, if her truck is off duty, I take 2 minutes and repair my phone under her name. But the crown jewel happened today as I have to drive her truck again after covering everywhere else for a week. At the start of the shift, I found the air compressor to be making much more noise than usual, so I went to record the issue in the truck log, and reading the other entries in the service log, I saw my stubbornness is paying dividends. She's been notating a defect for the stereo not working, and every few days the shop signs off that it's fine. I literally can only imagine how this feels. Honestly, I'm just so happy and I love my job, and I simply had to share my pettiness because this lady absolutely deserved it. Okay, I love this kind of energy because good lord, it sounds like this lady hates you for literally no reason at all. She just decided, oh, I'm gonna be petty and remove your phone from the system. But it's like, dude, why? It's not bothering anybody. She's doing it maliciously for no reason. Like, that is so annoying. So good for you for getting some petty revenge because yeah, this coworker sounds like a jerk and I don't blame you for messing with them. Am I the jerk for not lending my friend my car when she refused to pay for gas the first time I let her take it? Because right now she's calling me selfish and at this point I just don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so I have a friend who keeps asking to borrow my car. The first time she borrowed it, she made it clear that she didn't want to chip in for gas, and I ended up having to cover the full tank. I felt really annoyed, but decided to just let it slide since it was a one-time thing. But now she keeps asking to borrow it again, and keeps guilt-tripping me about it, saying things like, oh, I'm being unfair, and that friends help each other out. I get that in theory, but my trust is completely gone. I feel like if she couldn't even cover gas last time, there's no guarantee she would take care of the car or be responsible this time. Well, I finally told her I wasn't comfortable lending it again, and she actually got upset and said that I'm being selfish and that it's just a tank of gas. But for me, it's not about the money. It's about the trust and boundaries. I don't want to feel taken advantage of or worry that she'll treat my car carelessly. Now, I'm stuck feeling bad because she's my friend, but at the same time, I think I'm allowed to protect my stuff and say no when my boundaries are crossed. So am I the jerk here? Because right now I'm not sure. No, you're not the jerk. Your friend literally wanted to borrow your car and used up all your gas. And now she wants to do it again, but is not willing to pay for anything. So it's like, dude, she's freeloading. She's clearly taking advantage of you. Like, this is hardly a friend in the first place. So yeah, you're definitely not the jerk. Your friend sucks. And in my opinion, I would never give her my car if I was in your shoes. An entitled crazy Karen refuses to let me leave the parking lot unless I hand over my bicycle tire pump and allow her to use it for her bike. Things got so bad that a park ranger came over and tried to intervene and eventually had to threaten to call the police just to get her to leave me alone. And I'm still completely blown away by this crazy lady's entitlement. Here's what happened. So I was cycling at a local park earlier today. It's a sandy area, so I lower the pressure in the tires to make rolling over obstacles easier. I got back to the parking lot, I put the bike on the car rack, I pulled out a pump, and I filled the tires back up to the normal pressure. As I disconnected the pump and moved to stow it in the car and drive home, someone cleared their throat loudly behind me. I turned around and there was a woman there with a bike with an obvious flat. She said to me, "Well, it took you long enough to finish, doing your bike first instead of park visitors. Now pump up my tires." Now, I obviously looked very confused, but she continued and said, "Do your job." For reference, I was dressed in a khaki green polo shirt and my car is green, and I realized that she thought I worked for the park district. I said to her, "I don't work for the park district. This is my car and my bike." Well, she didn't believe me and wanted my supervisor's name and demanded again that I fill up her tire. At this point, I was getting annoyed. I said to her, "I do not work here. If you had asked nicely, I might have helped you, but your high-handed attitude means that I won't, so I'm gonna leave now." I got in the car and I started it, and she actually stood behind the car, refusing to let me back out, all the while directing a steady stream of invectives at me with surprising variety and volume. Thankfully, a real park ranger heard the noise and walked over. She told him I wasn't doing my job and had refused to help her, and she wanted to report me to the park supervisor. I explained that I was trying to leave, and she was blocking me because she wanted me to fill her tire after calling me a number of delightful names, including a lazy public employee. He looked at me, looked at her, shook his head as if to say this happened again, and then told her he doesn't work for us. He has no obligation to do anything for you. And if this is how you're behaving, I can see why he won't help you. Now please, move and let him leave. After a little more discussion, including including the ranger telling her that he'd call the local police for some sort of unlawful detainment if she didn't let me go. She then finally let me go. As I drove off, she was giving the ranger a piece of her mind at the top of her lungs, and despite all that, her tire probably remained completely flat. Wow, some people really are super entitled. Like, this lady walked up to a random guy in the parking lot and said, "Give me your bike pump right now, you need to pump up my tires." Like, first of all, why would you be so aggressive about that? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, couldn't you just ask in a normal tone and be like, "Hey, by the way, can I borrow your tire pump? I need it for my bike real quick, is that okay?" Or something like that. Anything other than what she did. Like, she was automatically, like, right off the get-go incredibly aggressive for, like, no reason. This guy didn't even do anything to her. He wasn't even talking to her. She just assumed, oh my god, it's another park ranger not doing their job. Why aren't they paying attention to every need that I have? And also, like, why would you go to the park with a bike and not have some kind of bicycle pump that you bring with you? Doesn't that come along with, like, having a bike and maintaining it and all this other stuff? Like, even just a simple, like, hand pump that you can use if you get, like, a flat tire or something like that. But I honestly wish I was a fly on the wall to see the expression of the original poster, because I think I would also be very confused by this person yelling at me and being so aggressive over something so mundane. And it's crazy to me that she even went as far as blocking him from leaving in his car. Like, this Karen is 100% unhinged and nobody can tell me otherwise. So good for the original poster for eventually getting out of there, because that lady was crazy and I don't blame you for wanting to get away.
If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories.
Am I the jerk for telling my brother that he is not allowed to be around my new girlfriend? Because in the past, he's gotten in the way of me having a romantic partner, and this time around, I refuse to allow him to do that again. Here's what happened. I'm a 19-year-old male and my older brother's 22, and we both work at the same factory. About 5 months ago, me and him became friends with a woman who's 23 who also works at the factory with us. Soon after we became friends with this woman, she lost her apartment, and since me and my brother both live in the same house, we told her that she could live with us. I have never had feelings for this woman, but her and my brother had decided to go out a few times. They were never exclusive, but they were well on their way to becoming exclusive, and they were just taking things slow. While he and this woman were going out, me and him became friends with another woman. I expressed feelings for this new woman, and my brother very well knew that. Soon after we became friends with this woman, he asked her out knowing full and well that I liked her, and soon after they became exclusive. Also, he had completely left behind the woman that we met at the factory. He screwed over the factory woman bad because he told her that he could possibly see a future with her, but when he met the other woman, he left her behind and never talked to her again. Now, for reference, this is not the first time he's made a move on a woman that he knew I had feelings for. He has done this 2 times in the past, and every time he does it, they just start dating. I thought that it was just a 2-time thing, but now with the most recent event happening, I'm starting to think that he does it on purpose. Fast forward, and just recently we were talking, and I mentioned that I had gotten a girlfriend. He got excited and was very eager to meet her, but I informed him that he would not be meeting her, nor would I bring him around her. He then got confused and asked me why, and I reminded him that he has dated 3 women in the past that I had feelings for, and that I know he does it on purpose. He then started crying and telling me that it hurts him that I would say that about him, but in response, I simply got up and walked away. The thing that convinced me that he does it on purpose is the fact that he was very close to being exclusive with a factory woman, but he broke her heart and left her for the woman that I developed feelings for. The reason I will never bring him around my new girlfriend is not because I'm insecure that she will leave me for him, but I fear that he will make a move on her, and that is not only disrespectful, but I know it will make her uncomfortable. Me and him have always had a rivalry, and he always tried to prove that he is better than me, and I'm trying to put a stop to it because we are both adults, and he needs to start acting like it. So I really need to know, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Okay, based on everything you've shared, I personally do not think you're the jerk. Your brother's track record absolutely betrays him in this department. Like, this guy has a history of ruining relationships for you and basically stepping in and getting in the way, and that in my opinion is not okay. Like, even based on what you're describing for this one singular moment with the lady from the factory, as well as the new lady you met besides the lady from the factory, it really does seem like your brother does this stuff on purpose. Like, he literally steps in between you and any romantic relationship and just snatches them away before you even have a chance to say anything to them. So I can completely understand your frustration in this regard. So no, I don't think you're the jerk, because I think it would be safer for your girlfriend to stay away from your brother, because his past record is absolutely very sketchy, and the the last thing you would ever want is for him to ruin this new relationship. My girlfriend thinks that my family is too controlling over our relationship, and this is because my family basically tried to take over my visit with my girlfriend, who has been a long-distance girlfriend for the past 21 months. And right now, I'm kind of at a crossroads and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I'm in a long-distance relationship with my girlfriend for 21 months now, and I'm 2 weeks away from flying to her so we can physically meet for the first time. We would always FaceTime every day and night, and we would Discord almost 24/7, and we really do love each other and we want to be together. My girlfriend doesn't like it when she notices that I do everything my mom says, and she thinks that I let my mom control our relationship too much. For reference, I'm 22 years old and my girlfriend is 25. For example, when I asked my mom whether she would allow me to fly alone for 13 hours to see my girlfriend for 2 weeks, I am using my own money for my trip, and my mom was against it at first, but it took a few more stressful days to finally get her to let me go and be okay about me leaving. Now, I talked to her about it in the first place because I don't want to be like those other people who do things behind their families' backs, like buying a plane ticket without my parents knowing, because I love my parents and I thought it was right to let them know first. My mom wanted to let my aunt pick me and my girlfriend up from the airport as soon as I landed. And at first, my girlfriend was against it because she's awkward by the fact that she would be waiting with my aunt because they aren't that close, and she thought it wasn't necessary as we could just take an Uber to my girlfriend's apartment. But we eventually came to a decision that it's fine and that my aunt can pick us both up. My aunt then privately messaged me asking if we would like to sleep over at their place and that they would gather everyone to see me after 6 years. And I actually asked my girlfriend about how she felt about that, as she hasn't met my relatives besides my aunt. She said she was okay with it as long as we wouldn't sleep there on the first day, because we both thought it would be weird that the first day of us meeting would be with other people. So anyways, we all decided on April 13th for us to go there. Then we started planning out other things to do and places to go, and we booked a lot of hotels and had places in mind. We then decided to go to this place that is a 1-hour drive from where my mom's family lives, and I told my mom about it, and she then tells me that we should go visit grandma and grandpa while we're there, and we should stay there overnight. So I asked my girlfriend and she was okay with it. So everything was going smoothly until recently my girlfriend said that we should go on a camping trip with her friends because they want to see me and they'll bring their boyfriends as well. I said sure, that's totally fine with me, but they all ended up choosing the 22nd to go on the trip, which would then cancel out the stayover at my aunt's place. My girlfriend requested that we move the date of the stayover, so I asked my aunt. She said the 13th would be the best time as my cousins and relatives are available and they could come. Any other day won't work for them because they have a busy schedule and not everyone lives there. I told my girlfriend that and she started to stress out because her friends also have busy schedules and the 13th would be the only time to make this work. I asked my girlfriend if we could just meet up with her friends for lunch or something like that, and she said that they won't want to drive 2 hours just for lunch. They want to do something that's fun and worth everybody's time. So after stressing, I decided to listen to my girlfriend, and she made me realize this trip wasn't about seeing family, it's about our time together. She said if they were family, they would listen to me and support my decision, and they could make other days available for me, and I agreed with her. After telling my mom this, she was disappointed that I'm choosing my girlfriend over seeing my relatives. But my girlfriend didn't have a problem with us meeting anyone. She was okay with seeing my grandparents, but my girlfriend thought it was only fair that she introduces me to her 2 best friends. I mean, these people are like sisters to her. I then had a whole argument with my girlfriend, and I would really like for us not to be fighting over this. We are okay now, but I just hate picking sides because it's just not my thing. I love my girlfriend, and I love and respect my family too, but I don't think I'm in the wrong to choose my girlfriend over family gatherings. And I'm also not saying that I'm super close with my cousins and relatives, but whenever we fly there, my family and I would be at their place and spend the time with them. I mean, the whole purpose of the trip was to see my girlfriend, and I'm only there for 2 weeks, which is not enough time. Now, as a long story short, my mom and aunt have already met my girlfriend when last year my mom flew there and my girlfriend wanted to give them gifts. So I asked my mom and girlfriend to meet up and take it to her. My aunt also came along and they had a lunch together. My girlfriend said she was awkward and thought they weren't that interested in her. I said it's normal, and I told her they're old and they won't vibe with you anyways. Now, my girlfriend is very independent as she has been living alone due to family conflict and her mother passing away so soon. She shared to me how her dad's mom was too controlling over his relationship too and said mean things to her mom. My girlfriend doesn't want to be in a relationship like that involves my mom wanting to know everything that we do and trying to tell tell me what's right or wrong, and that I listen to everything she says even though she's wrong. She heard my mom say things that she didn't want to hear when we argued about meeting family on the 13th, and she told me that my mom is being too controlling over our relationship. And I agree, but I have no problems with either meeting my family or her friends. It was just hard to decide overall. I chose the side of my girlfriend, but at the same time, I can't help but feel guilty for choosing either or. There will always be another time where I would see my relatives because they would always be there. So how do I explain to everyone that this is the right thing to do for me and my girlfriend, and that we're not being selfish? Because I don't want both my family and girlfriend to keep thinking negatively about each other. What should I do? Okay, in my opinion, I don't think there's anything wrong with you wanting to spend time with your long-distance girlfriend on this trip. Like, you've never actually met her and you've been together for 21 months. Like, this moment is a big deal, and if I was in your shoes, I would want to spend as much time with her as well. So I think you made the right choice of saying, no, let's spend time together and like do stuff together as a couple. And if your mom and extended family doesn't like that, then they're just gonna have to live with that. This is a rare occasion of getting to see your girlfriend in person. And I completely agree with you. I think it would be a bad idea to let this opportunity turn into some family reunion. Also, you do know you don't have to tell your mom about everything you do, right? Like, you are an adult. If you want to go fly somewhere, you don't need to tell her about it. Maybe for the sake of safety, it's probably okay. But if you have all your ducks in a row, you can't just go and do stuff. And with that in mind, you don't have to like ask permission to go flying either. You are an adult and you have your own money. Like, you're living almost as if you're still a teenager under their house. And maybe you do still live with them or something like that. But even then, in my opinion, you don't have to ask permission to do anything. You can just go do it and they can find out either after the fact, or for the sake of like convenience, you could just tell them if you want to. But not with the guise of being like, ooh, am I allowed to do this? Because in the end, you most definitely are allowed. But I think it would also be very valuable to see what your girlfriend is picking up, because I kind of have to agree with her. It really does seem like your mom plays a big role in your life and like in your decision-making process, and I think it's time to maybe grow out of that. Like, you don't need to tell her every aspect of what you're doing, because pretty soon your plans are going to change like overnight. Like, if it was up to your mom and your aunt, you would have seen all these family members and barely spent any time with your girlfriend. It's like you almost lost sight of the entire trip altogether because you involved your family in something that was really a private matter. So I think your girlfriend has a point, and I think she is kind of right that your family is a little too controlling over your relationship. Because in my opinion, this was not about picking sides, and it really should have been obvious that you should have prioritized your girlfriend over seeing extended family members on this specific trip. Would I be the jerk if I blatantly told my roommate that she is eating way too much, costing our house hundreds of dollars in groceries every single month, and causing a massive financial burden on my back? Because at this point, I'm incredibly frustrated and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, I want to start off by saying that this is a throwaway account because I don't want my roommate seeing this. There are several points of frustration that I could go on about, but this one is the most contentious by far. For the sake of not writing too much, I'm only going to focus on this one. My roommate has been living with my family for almost a year now. They have Social Security income, so they do not work and are subsequently at home all of the time. There are 3 adults and 1 child in the house, and my roommate eats more than the other 3 of us combined. It's getting ridiculously expensive to keep food in the house, and the rise in the cost of food combined with the sheer amount of food being eaten daily is making it unfeasible for me to keep up with financially. I have already tried talking to my roommate about the cost increase of our grocery bill, but again, they're on a fixed income, so they can only afford to pitch in maybe $200 a month. The problem is that between the $200 that they put in and my budget of $500, there is still not enough to keep food in the house for a month. I always end up going over budget. I've had to label certain foods that are for the child so that my roommate doesn't eat all of it because they have in the past. I've also come home from work countless times to only be disappointed that there are no leftovers or snacks for me. I get home late at night, so cooking a whole meal isn't reasonable. Not to mention that I'm already tired from working 10 hours and I don't want to do that. So I'm really considering having another conversation with my roommate, but just be more blatantly this time about the food situation. I don't know what else to do at this point, and I don't want to be accusatory, but I can't afford this anymore. I feel like I have to come out and say that you're eating too much and it's a financial burden on all of us, just for her to get this message. What should I do? Okay, it's really weird to me that you have like a communal grocery list going on, or that you all pitch in for like groceries in the house all together. Like, why are you not buying separate groceries and saying, okay, these are mine and those are yours. You can eat whatever you want, but stay away from my food. Like, why is that not the setup that's currently going on for your roommate? Because right now, now it seems like she's giving you all this money and then she just eats everything. And maybe she feels some kind of ownership over all the groceries because she's pitching in money to pay for the groceries. But I'm honestly not sure why you're doing it this way in the first place. Like, it really seems counterintuitive, and I just don't see how this benefits you in any kind of way. So having a conversation probably wouldn't be a bad idea, but maybe frame it in such a way where you're like, hey, the rising cost of everything is making it hard. I can't do the shared grocery thing anymore, so you're gonna have to figure something else out. And from there on out, keep things separate. That way the expectations are set all together, and you can know for a fact that starting today, your roommate is responsible for their food and you are responsible for yours. Because what's happening right now sounds absolutely insane, as I really think that there's no reason for you to be spending all that money. Am I the jerk for describing my mom's second marriage and her younger kids as her do-over family? Because I never got any of the love and kindness she is now showing to my step-siblings. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 17-year-old female and I lost my dad when I was 5 years old. My parents were married, but I remember my dad being more present in my early memories than mom. And when my dad died, I knew my mom wasn't there for me. She left me to raise myself, or she roped in some extended family to take care of me, usually my grandparents. But she wouldn't always do that, and I was sort of forced to become independent and more mature in some ways to raise myself. Like, I had to make sure I ate, did my homework, and got to school on time, all without my mom helping me. The most she would do is make some food, but she wouldn't even tell me that she had done that. I usually had to search the fridge to find it. My grandparents were the ones who celebrated my birthdays with me, and they were the ones who typically went to my school for parent conferences. My mom just doesn't know me. She couldn't tell you what classes I take in high school, what my favorite food or color is, who my friends and best friends are, literally nothing. Fast forward, and 5 years ago, she met her husband Sam, and pretty quickly, like before, they were living together, and my mom ended up getting pregnant. So Sam moved in, and my mom married him. She had a daughter 4 years ago, and her son followed along 2 years ago as well. And right away, I see the difference in how my mom is with them. She knows them, she loves them, she dedicates time to them, and she advocates for them. All the things I do not remember her ever doing for me. She eats with them and plays with them, and she takes her daughter to preschool every day and takes her for a treat afterwards. And it really just sucks to see. I didn't get a good mom, but I see that she had it in her to be a good mom and chose not to be. Sam isn't as good as my dad was though, but he's still better than my mom ever was to me. Last week, my mom asked me to babysit for her and Sam, and I said no. My mom was shocked and asked why I wouldn't babysit, and I told her that I had work and I had plans with friends. She then told me that she would have expected that I would want time with the kids, but I told her that I don't want time with her do-over family. She asked me what that meant, and I said Sam and the kids were her do-over family. She is a better mom to her younger kids, and she and Sam have created their own perfect little family with them and their kids. And she was never that for me. I told her I have zero interest in helping her out with a do-over family, and I pointed out that it was the most she had said to me in years, because she normally doesn't talk to me or include me in anything, and the only reason she is speaking to me is because she wanted something. She looked at me and said, "How dare you say that about Sam and the kids?" And she told me I have an awful attitude, and she hopes the kids never pick up on how I feel about them and their dad. She told me they deserve better than being described that way, and she told me I had some nerve to be jealous that her kids have a happy family life. But I just laughed and told her that she only cared about them, and that was pretty clear. And then to top it all off, she called me a nasty little jerk. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk at all, because it's pretty clear that your mom feels guilty about the way she treated you. Like, she clearly was an absent mother and she just didn't care. But it's only once Sam comes along and they have some kids that she finally gets things together and somehow turns into this wonderful mother. And in that regard, I don't blame you for being upset. If I was in your shoes, I'd be upset as well. Like, where was this mom when you were growing up? Because you spent a childhood basically taking care of yourself. Like, you didn't have anybody except for your grandparents to help you out. Like, that is such an awful way to live, and I'm just so sorry you had to deal with that. So no, I don't think you're the jerk in this scenario. I think the feelings are really raw and very exposed right now, and if your mom seriously doesn't understand that, then that is definitely her problem and not yours. An entitled jerk comes into Walmart and tries to return an entertainment center that we blatantly do not sell. And even though I tried to ask for a receipt of some kind to prove that he purchased it here, this guy gets angrier in such a way where I couldn't help but smile and nearly start laughing at his temper tantrum. And I've honestly never been more blown away by an adult making this kind of ruckus. Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened back in 2000 when I was still just a young, naive kid that had only dealt with maybe 2 or 3 entitled people in my life. I had yet to develop the 1,000-yard stare or the hard shell that comes along with working retail. So I'm working returns when a man about 30 or 35 years old walks up leading an employee that is wheeling up a large entertainment center. This thing is fully assembled and has ornate wood details with a very lovely finish. In other words, it's something you wouldn't find at this kind of store. The man starts off very cordial. He says to me, "I want my money back. I thought it would fit in my living room, but it's too small." I asked to see a receipt or perhaps the box it came in, but he didn't have either of those. So I called the manager of home furnishings just to see if there's a similar one for a price and a barcode, mainly because I doubt we sell anything like this. I asked the man if he'd like to have a seat while the manager checked for this entertainment center. Well, suddenly this guy begins turning red as he raises his voice. He says to me, "Do I look like I need to sit down? Do you think I need to calm down?" Now, I respond politely, trying to de-escalate the situation. "No, sir, I simply thought you might want to sit while you wait." I then smiled to help the next customer. His voice then raised in pitch as he shouted, "Are you laughing at me? It's not funny." I didn't respond as I attempted to help the next customer in line, but it was hard not to find it funny that this man was angry about me doing my job. We are required to smile and greet customers. The manager of furnishing returns and explains that we have nothing similar to this item and asked him where he bought it. The man raises his voice again and says to me, "I bought it here. I demand to speak to the manager." So the home furnishing manager asked him to wait while I contact the floor manager so that he could come and speak to this man. Meanwhile, the man is ranting and screaming even more. "Useless employees making me wait. Can't do their jobs at all. Why are you smiling?" Now, the last part is directed at me. He now sounds like a little boy throwing a temper tantrum, and right now it is super difficult not to laugh. My coworkers, being veterans of perpetual nonsense, are barely reacting at all. The other customers are trying hard to stifle their chuckles and avert their gazes. This doesn't help, as this man's voice now sounds something like an angry Mickey Mouse. Children are now stopping as they're walking by with their parents, hoping to find out why Mickey's shouting at us in the store. I'm now pretty red-faced, and the customer's just looking on in shock, as this man looks like he's about to explode like an overinflated balloon. And he sounds like he sucked out enough helium to do just that. Thankfully, the manager appeared and settled the man down. He pulled him away from view of the service desk, and he returned to tell me to take a break and calm down before returning to the irate customer. He was able to get the man to understand all the way up until he explained that we could not take it back without a receipt. The irate man growled at a similar pitch to a chihuahua before storming off, all without his fancy entertainment center. I was told that I was not cut out for working the service desk and was instead demoted to cashier. It took almost a year to develop thick skin that I needed to work retail. Now, the entertainment center was silently auctioned for workers to bid on, and the proceeds went to a children's miracle network. And I'm honestly still blown away by the way this guy acted. Yeah, that's like really cringy behavior if you ask me. Like, this guy's screaming over an entertainment system that they clearly don't have. He doesn't have a receipt, he has no proof of purchase, he doesn't have the box it came in, literally nothing. If anything, he probably bought this from some other store years ago, and he's now like, "Hey, let me just return it to what I'm assuming is Walmart." Like, that's really weird behavior, and honestly, how did he think it was gonna go? But you know what? I think the original poster handled it well. I think I would definitely start laughing as well if this guy's voice was raising so much that he sounded like an angry Mickey Mouse about to take down anybody in front of them, because that truly sounds hilarious.
If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories.
Today, I need to confess that I slept with my best friend's fiance, and even though they're on the verge of getting married, I've decided that I'm going to take this secret all the way down to my grave, because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I met my best friend in high school, and we've been attached to the hip ever since. Although she moved some years ago, so we stopped hanging out and talking regularly, and that's still true to this day. We both have our own separate lives, especially now that we're adults. The connection is still there, but there is a significant physical distance between us. Anyways, her fiance had hit on me a handful of times before, and every time I told her. It was a no-brainer. She was my best friend, and I would never keep something like that from her. She assured me it was nothing to worry about, and told me that he'd done that before. It wasn't very reassuring to me, considering how serious they were, and this is right before they got engaged too, by the way, but I didn't want to overstep a boundary and berate her with things she already was aware of, and choosing just to turn turn a blind eye to it. Fast forward to a year or two ago, and he reaches out to me again, hitting on me. But this time, he's telling me things he wants to do with me, if you know what I mean. And I entertained it for a week or two, sent a couple of scandalous messages, but then blocked him because of how wrong it felt. And obviously, I didn't tell her about these exchanges. Well, sometime after I blocked him, they got engaged. And although I expressed happiness to my friend, I was worried about their future considering his past actions, especially towards me. Some months passed and eventually I unblocked him. I don't remember why, but I'm sure it was a mix of curiosity and anxiety about her questioning why he could no longer get in contact with me. I mean, I wasn't sure why he needed to, but the only reason we got in contact to begin with was because my friend wanted us to be acquainted. Now, I'm not sure how, but he immediately noticed that I had unblocked him and started to message me. We began talking again, and eventually, after some months, I made plans to go visit my friend. She had reached out to me somewhat recently and wanted to hang out, and her fiance expressed that he was more than excited to have me over as well. I went over and we shared several glances, as well as a couple discreet conversations while she was away. At one point, he had followed me to their bathroom and begged me to spend some quality time with him, if you know what I mean. Now, I failed to mention up until this point that he doesn't necessarily attract me, so a lot of his advances really weirded me out on the inside, but I was so caught up in the attention and the scandal that it just didn't seem to matter to me. We waited until my last day when it was time for me to go home, and then we met at a discreet location. He came over to my car, we moved into the back seat, and I think the rest can explain itself. He left, I went home, and I felt dazed for the entire drive home. I feel guilty now, months later, every time I think about it, but surprisingly, not enough to ever tell her. I think this is the sort of thing that I will probably take to my grave. I shouldn't have been so heartless that I did that, but I don't have the guts to ever tell her what happened. He wants to do it again before they get married, but I keep leaving his messages on read. I don't want to block him again, but I never want to scheme behind my friend's back with him ever again. Some of the things he's told me would make her stomach turn, and I would know because it makes mine turn, and I'm not even the one he's cheating on. My only hope is that one of them miraculously calls it off before the wedding. I've encouraged him multiple times to do so, but he always says that he just can't do it, and that even though they aren't completely right for each other, he still can't stop with going through with the marriage. So please hold off any harsh judgment. I can assure you that I know how heartless it was for me to do such a thing, especially as I've been cheated on many times before, but I just needed to admit this somewhere because at this point I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, I know you're not looking for harsh judgments, but I'm gonna judge you very harshly right now, and I can honestly say that what you're doing is awful. Like, this altogether is completely disgusting and so wrong, especially right before she's about to get married. And if you have any common sense about you, you would put aside your own ego and pride and just tell this lady exactly what happened. Because in my opinion, if he's doing this with you, who knows who else he's trying to do this with? You just happen to be the person that unblocked him. And I've gotta say, your way of justifying this behavior is so wrong. You passed this off as if this was something that your friend already knew about, but then took it to another level when you messed around with him. Not to mention all the sketchy messages that you've been sending him as well. Like when your friend questioned you about why he could not get in contact with you, that would have been the perfect moment to be like, okay, this is what's going on, and this is why I decided to step away from him. But instead, you're choosing to stay silent and just go along with this, even though you went to visit your friend, probably not even wanting to see your friend, but instead wanting to mess around with your best friend's fiance. So yes, you're a massive jerk for doing this, and I think your friend has every right to know, because she's about to make a lifetime commitment with a jerk who will openly and easily cheat on her at the drop of a hat, and she does not deserve to deal with that in the slightest. Am I the jerk for not wanting my boyfriend to go to another country on vacation with his female coworker who I have never met? Because right now he is being very defensive, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. My boyfriend and I have been together for a little over 2 years. Lately he has been talking about traveling and going on this trip to South America with his coworkers. And yes, it's multiple coworkers. And this has been an idea for about 2 weeks, maybe even less. He said his coworkers have family there that could show him around and even give him a place to stay in the meantime. Well, today he asked if he should just say screw it and book the ticket because it's super cheap. And he also wouldn't have to worry about finances for a place to stay. I said, I mean, why not? And when I asked him who would be going on this trip, he said his coworker, who we will call Becca. Becca is not her real name. I proceeded to ask how old she was, and he said she was in her 30s. Now, he is 27 and I'm 26 for the record. Now, I felt immediately uncomfortable. For starters, I've never met a coworker with that name, and he has been working there for about a year, which means I've been at his workplace numerous times. I'm also seeing this as a fact that they are pretty close, especially considering meeting meeting up with someone overseas and being so gracious as to offer a place to stay. Which, by the way, he said they wouldn't be staying together and that she would just be showing him around. Now, I'm also looking at it from a woman's perspective, and I would never invite a male coworker to a vacation overseas or a vacation period, no matter how long I've been working with them, especially alone. I mean, you never know someone's true intention. That is just my opinion and view on it, and I'm not speaking for all women. I told him I am uncomfortable with it, and he immediately got defensive and said I'm not supporting his first international trip alone, that I shouldn't look at it that way, and that it's strictly platonic. It was also mentioned that I have not made it a priority to travel, which I do not get paid well, and I also have a child and a bunch of expenses that I'm just trying to keep myself above the water, so to say. So that is why traveling has not been my priority right now. And the key word here is right now. So now I don't know what to do. I am very uncomfortable with it. And yes, I feel bad for holding him back from traveling or not supporting his trip, especially because he's been wanting to travel for a while now. I don't want to control his life, but I do know if the roles were reversed, he would be feeling very uncomfortable with it as well. I get yearning to travel. I mean, I yearn to travel as well, but this is very uncomfortable for me. So I don't know. Am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk at all. I see completely where you're coming from, and I think you're being completely rational. Now, if you went along with him on this trip and stayed with him while this friend is like showing you around their home country, then sure, that's completely fine. I would have no problem with that because I would also be there present for the vacation itself. But for the opportunity for him to be alone with this lady that you don't know and you've never met or had any conversation with or had the chance to like get a gauge for who she is, that just seems super sketchy and it just does not sit well with me. And I completely reject the notion that you're somehow like insecure about him traveling because this just crosses a weird line in my opinion. So no, you are not the jerk for expressing this discomfort because in my opinion, the way he's going about doing this is really sketchy. And I think if I was in your shoes, I would feel the exact same way. Am I the jerk for not respecting my roommate's curfew that she inflicted on me, claiming that she wants me back by 12 o'clock since showing up any later would be a massive disruption of her sleep schedule? Because right now, I really don't know what to do. Okay, so I'm in a fight with my roommate, and my friend suggested I get additional opinions on here. For some background, I'm a freshman in college living in a dorm, and I got a randomly assigned roommate. We live very different lifestyles. I like to stay up late and sleep in late, and she likes to go to bed early and wake up early. At the beginning of the year, she told me she likes to go to bed early, and she is a light sleeper, and I told her that I like to stay up late. And we came to the agreement that she could turn out the light at any point, and that I would be quiet after that. She goes to bed between 9 and 11 o'clock p.m., and I often get ready for bed and lay in bed at these times just out of respect. However, there are generally 2 to 3 nights a week, one of which is a weekday, that I stay up and out past this time. I keep the light off and I do nothing more than crawl into bed when I return home between 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, about 3 weeks ago, my roommate told me she doesn't like me staying out late because it affects her sleep and that she wants me back by 12 o'clock. My friends have made fun of me since then because out of respect for her, I have, for a few exceptions, left parties, study sessions, and hangouts early to go home on time. Fast forward, and on Monday night, I was out playing board games with friends and I lost track of time. I noticed it was 12:30, and out of respect for her, I decided to pull an all-nighter with my friends in the common room. I returned that morning at 8:15 to get ready and shower because I had a meeting at 9. However, I got an angry text later that day calling me out for returning at 8:15 despite me doing my best to remain quiet and even not returning home at an unreasonable hour, as I would have been up at that time anyways. I responded and apologized for waking her up, but explained that I stayed out all night for her and I did nothing wrong. I also explained that while I was willing to compromise and be back most nights at midnight, as long as I was courteous, there would be nights I would come back later. I then got a message last night that she had scheduled a meeting with our RA to mediate, and I honestly want to know if I'm in the wrong or if she's in the wrong, or if this is just a bad situation, because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, I'm gonna say this as nicely as I can, but your roommate is completely delusional. You pay tuition, room, and board, and you are literally free to come and go as you please, just as much as your roommate is. Like, you can literally do whatever you want. This lady does not rule your life, and she cannot make rules for you. So if you want to come back at 8:15 in the morning or at 3 o'clock in the morning and quietly come back to your bed, then guess what? You can do that, and she can't do anything about it. So this weird, controlling, like passive-aggressive attitude she has literally does not have a foot to stand on, because I guarantee you when you get in that meeting with the RA, she's not going to complain about you coming in late at night. She's going to try and make this sound like you're making a lot of noise and that you're somehow disturbing her peace, which from the sounds of it, that's definitely not happening. I don't know if there's an option at your university to get a different roommate or like have some way of switching things around, but I would definitely look into that sooner than later, because your roommate sounds like a complete delusional idiot, and she has no right to try and control your life in the slightest. My sister is getting a divorce and asked to stay with me without giving a clear timeline of how long she would stay, and I'm now at a point where I really need to know how long she's expecting to live with me and my husband, because at this point I'm seriously not sure how to bring this up. So my sister and her partner have been rocky for years and are deciding to officially split up. I won't air out their details as it is their business, but it was a mutual agreement to get a divorce. She texted me yesterday asking if she could come stay with me and my husband, and came over as soon as I said absolutely. For reference, things got heated and her ex-partner told her to leave. My husband was okay with it, as he is very supportive, but we never really discussed how long she needed to stay. I, of course, want to be there for her any way that I can, but me and my husband have personally and rather recently gone through some hardships, and hosting a guest for an extended period of time is a lot for us right now. So it really makes me question what the best way of opening up this conversation would be. I don't want her to feel unwanted, as she is my sister, and I do love her very much, and I want to help her and be supportive in any way that I can. I'm happy she was comfortable enough to come to me in a situation like this, so I really don't want to ruin that by coming off rude in any way. Things are obviously fresh, so letting things settle is the first plan. But after our talk last night, her ex-partner is planning on moving out late May and is currently filing for divorce. And although she didn't ask me, we wouldn't be able to host her that long, and I'm not sure the best way to go about letting her know. Now, as some side notes, we have been no contact with our parents for a few years. They were awful and essentially ruined any form of relationship me and my sister could have had together as kids. So we grew up never being close. We reconnected as adults and have worked through our childhood issues together, but we still aren't as close as other siblings usually are. So her staying with either of our parents just isn't an option. I'm the only family that she has, so this is a pretty delicate situation that I want to handle as respectfully as possible. What should I do? Okay, so in my opinion, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to open up a discussion and say exactly what needs to be said. Like, you can probably say this in a way where it's kind and nice, but also sets very clear boundaries about how long she can stay. And I personally don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I couldn't even begin to assume that she would somehow feel slighted by you saying, hey, we can help you out for right now, but based on circumstances in our life, we can't do it for long term, or something like that. Now, that's how I would handle it. Obviously, you know your sister way better than I or anybody else would, so there is probably some nuance here that maybe you can navigate and figure out as you go along. But setting up clear boundaries of like what you can do and like what kind of timeline you can expect is not a bad thing. Because while yes, what's going on in her life really is tragic, you do also have to think about your life. And if her staying long term just doesn't fit that criteria, then honestly, she definitely needs to know. Am I the jerk for snitching on one of my coworkers after they abandoned their job and left me completely alone? Because right now they're getting suspended, and at this point I don't know if I'm the one at fault. Here's what happened. I'm a 23-year-old female, and I recently worked on a temp project at my job that required us to break into teams and work 12-hour shifts, and mine was from 7 o'clock p.m. until 7 o'clock a.m. Towards the end of the project, my partner was taken off for personal reasons and was replaced with someone else. Since this was towards the end, the person who sat on shift with me had no responsibility, and mostly their job was to sit at the station since it wasn't supposed to be unattended or just answer the phone if I was already on the phone. Well, the person who was put on shift with me showed up at 7 o'clock p.m. and everything was fine. At around 10 o'clock p.m., they say they're going to grab dinner and asked if I wanted anything. And I said no due to having already bought my food, and so they went to go get some food and they never came back. At around 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm starting to worry and I start calling and texting and I just get no answer. I try looking to see if maybe they were just like chilling in another office, but no, they were literally nowhere to be found. At around 4:30 in the morning, they finally answered and they say they were in the office asleep. And I know that wasn't the case because I had checked there multiple times. What made me mad was that they actually started laughing and they thought it was funny on top of the lie of actually being there. I said I couldn't believe they just left and they said they would come back, but I responded by saying the shift was almost over. It was close to 5 in the morning and the busy part was literally done. Though I still think they should have come back, and this person is one of my bosses, so I can't make the call to them not to come in or finish the shift, but eventually I get off the phone and I wait. And as you might be guessing, they really never did come back. And at this point, I'm just super angry. day. So every day of the temp project has been rough for the night shift. And one of the top supervisors for our team as a whole checks on me every day after my shift. So I decided to tell them what happened. How the person left me on shift after only doing 3 hours of work? And when I said this, my supervisor was angry. And even more so because he personally asked this person to sit on the shift with me so that I can occasionally take a break or use the bathroom, but instead they just left. They literally just had to sit there and just be alive. So as a result, my supervisor gave him suspension that would cut his pay. Now, some important notes about this. The suspension will go in his work file and it will follow him throughout his entire time in the company. The suspension will potentially make it hard to get promoted in the future, and according to my supervisor, this suspension was a culmination of bad behavior, but this incident was the straw that broke the camel's back. This person did not apologize at all, and my husband is friends with the guy, and they are still buddy-buddy due to my husband not wanting to add to the tension and hostility. Now, everybody, including my husband, says that I should have spoken to him directly instead of telling the supervisor, and apparently the loss in pay will affect him next month when he has his child support hearing. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? No, you're definitely not the jerk. This guy abandoned his post. He clearly has a history of being an idiot at work, and this is just one of many instances where he's goofed off and not done his job. You're just one of probably many people who have been abandoned on the clock just so he can take a nap in the back office. And sure, of course he wants you to talk to him directly. That way he can probably just blow off anything you're gonna say and then try to spin it and get you in trouble. So no, you're definitely not the jerk. His supervisor was probably waiting for a moment like this, and any consequences that he incurs is quite literally his own fault and not yours in the slightest. My entitled in-laws are furious with me, complaining that they don't want to dress up for my Renaissance-themed wedding, claiming that I'm making everybody look like idiots all because I'm enforcing a dress code. And at this point, I'm not sure if I'm the jerk for asking people to dress a certain way at my wedding, because based on their reaction, I'm starting to seriously doubt myself. Here's what happened. I'm a 29-year-old female, and I'm getting married to my 30-year-old partner, and we've planned a fantasy and Renaissance-themed wedding. We are massive fandom nerds. We read books, we play video games, we love movies and comics, and we actually met at a Renaissance fair and wanted that to be a part of our wedding. We discussed it with our close friends, and everyone thought it was a great idea. So we sent out the invitations, plus an attached letter that explained why we wanted to have a themed wedding, and examples of the type of things that we wanted people to wear. We included photos, descriptions, budget categories that went from how to do it yourself all the way to just straight out buying something online. We also asked people to reach out if they had any worries so that we could work something out. Well, I've received a few messages from my closer friends saying that they've heard other people, including some of mine and my partner's family members, calling me a bridezilla, saying that we're being unreasonable, that this is ridiculous, and that they don't want to go if I'm going to get all up in arms over clothing. My soon-to-be mother-in-law and sister-in-law are especially angry. I reached out to them after their names were mentioned, and they said I am ruining what is supposed to be a happy day by demanding people dress up like idiots. They said everyone should be allowed to dress in whatever way makes them feel comfortable, and I'm just being very controlling. My partner says not to listen to them, but there are so many people saying it. I'm feeling pretty hurt by all of this. I assume people would react like this if I said everyone needed to go out and spend hundreds on costumes, but we went out of our way to include pictures and suggest as many very low budget options as possible. I honestly don't think it was a big deal, but now I'm having second thoughts about the whole theme wedding idea. Now, for some additional context, we put in the invitation that we don't expect or want people to buy us wedding gifts and would rather they keep their money for themselves or use it for the outfit. And one of the low budget options was things like a normal floral dress that many people already own, with the addition of like a flower crown or a belt or something like that. And it went up from there. For more meticulous stuff, it was like a linen shirt with a piece of fabric tied around your waist or a belt. It's quite low key, and I'm not super strict about any of it. I just didn't want anything like a cocktail dress or a formal suit and tie. Now, excluding my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law, our closest family and friends haven't complained, and several people have said they are looking forward to it. It's more so cousins or aunts and uncles, or those types of level of friends, who have also not contacted us directly, but instead we're hearing about it through the grapevine. So honestly, am I the jerk for trying to have some kind of dress code at my wedding? What should I do? You are definitely not the jerk for having a dress code at your wedding. Like, your mother and sister-in-law are just being so overdramatic, as well as anybody else who has like some serious problem with this. It is not unheard of that people would have a theme and a dress code for their wedding. Like, that definitely happens all the time in every wedding around the world. And it really sounds like you've covered a lot of options that people can choose from if they're unsure of what to wear to the wedding. Like, this really does sound like a simple thing that can be accommodated. And honestly, I don't know why they would make such a big deal out of it. And honestly, if you invited me to your wedding and you gave me these specific instructions for what to wear, I would have a lot of fun with it and I would absolutely show up. And it really seems like most people who are coming to your wedding kind of get that this is going to be a fun time. And this also feels way more memorable than anything else. Like, sure, a suit and tie or even just like a formal dress is fun for a wedding every now and then, but like, this clearly is something that's very unique. And I know if I was invited to this wedding, I absolutely would show up and have a great time. Like, how often do you get to go to a Renaissance themed wedding? Like, that sounds awesome in my opinion. So truly, I think your sister-in-law and your mother-in-law are just being very stuck up, and they clearly just don't want to have fun, because your idea of having a Renaissance themed wedding sounds amazing, and you are not out of line for having a dress code.
If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My friend refuses to let me meet her boyfriend, and yet is almost demanding that she be friends with my fiance. And even though I've discussed this with her several times, I still feel like I make no progress in understanding exactly why she's acting this way. Because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I met my friend back in 2019 during college. We were really good friends instantly, and we had so much in common. But since then, life has moved on, and we have both changed. And I really now just don't recognize her. The confident and bold girl I met isn't there anymore. My friend met her boyfriend back in 2022, and it's been horrible ever since. She's told me that she thinks that he's cheating on her, how emotionally awful he is towards her, and the way that he screams at her, and he's even encouraged her not to take birth control. So, from what she told me, I never had a liking towards this guy. But they always break up just to get back together again, so this guy literally isn't going anywhere. My friend goes from crying over what he says and does to being so happy in a state of euphoria. It's a constant up and down of emotions. I'm engaged to the person that I would love to call my soulmate. We have been together for 2 years, and when we first started our relationship, my friend told me how important it is that she befriends my fiance and that they have a good friendship. Now, I agreed and included her in some of our hangouts, and there have been many times I told her to let her boyfriend join us. I thought it's unfair to judge a person I've never met before, and I should just give him a chance. My friend always pushed off the idea of a double date, or would say that we should do it but never follow through. I mean, I know she would even go on a double date with her coworker, and I thought it was maybe because they had more in common because they worked together. I only met her boyfriend once, and it was very awkward. We were going shopping, and she told me that her boyfriend texted her that he's cold at work. Well, she ended up buying a $130 jacket, and we had to drop it off to him. Now, I tried to insist for her not to buy it just because of how expensive it is, but there was no getting through to her. She decided we had to drop it off at their work, as they work at the same place. When we got there, she told me to stay in the car, but I felt stupid staying behind, so I told her that's silly, and then I asked her if it really was a problem that I met this guy. But she kept arguing with me that I needed to stay in the car. He ended up coming out to us, and I told her it's awkward if I stay here. So I ended up meeting him, and he ignored her the entire time. He didn't thank her for the jacket, and he kept trying to talk to me. He asked me about myself and what I'm ordering when we have dinner. And trust me, it was very awkward. And then after that, my friend was crying in the car that he didn't thank her for the jacket and that he completely ignored her. For another example, I went out to dinner with her and her brother last Friday. She got into a bad argument with him and she was devastated. Like, no matter how much we tried to help her, she was inconsolable. After an hour, her mood changed and all was fine again. She told us she's dropping off dinner for her boyfriend, and then when we got to his place, she parked away from his house and told us it's best that we stay here. But then her brother said that it's rude towards her boyfriend if we park away from his house. Like, it could almost show that she's embarrassed of him or where he lives. She told her brother that he's right, and of course, we were told to wait in the car. For some additional information about me, my fiance and I have to do long distance for a bit due to visa reasons. We're doing the K1 fiance visa, so he'll be back anywhere from August to December. We have been apart since June, but I do go and visit him during my work vacations. My friend constantly mentions that when my fiance comes back, we have got to go out on a double date. She said it so many times that I don't think she's excited for me for when it comes to my fiance to come back, but rather just for her boyfriend to come out with us. I have told her that I'm fine and happy to go out with them and explained it could take a while for my fiance to come back, but she insisted that she would rather wait. She said it the other night that my fiance needs to come home so we can double date. So I asked her, well, why can't it just be us? Why do we have to wait for him? She said that she would rather wait so that everyone can be completely comfortable, but I don't even know what that even has to do with anything. I'm perfectly fine and comfortable to go out with them. Like, I don't need my fiance to have fun. The other factor is that he won't come back until about 6 to 8 months from now. My friend knows that, and when I tried explaining to her that it might take a while until he comes back, she just said to me, well, time moves fast, and before you know it, he'll be here. It just sounded stupid, so I didn't even try to carry on that conversation. I am really confused. She always mentions wanting to double date just for it to never happen. They have been together for 2 years, and I have never met this guy, but she puts such an importance on being friends with my fiance. She also double dates a lot with her coworker and their husband, and then she proceeds to tell me how amazing her double date was. I'm so tempted to ask her if she thinks that I'm an idiot, and I really want to ask if she's embarrassed of me or her boyfriend. I just don't know why she makes a big deal to have a good friendship with my fiance, but I can't even hang out with her or her boyfriend. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, honestly, it really seems like the friend in this situation wants to go on double dates simply because there will be another man at that date. It sounds like her boyfriend is like a complete scumbag, and he would happily ask out any woman in front of him instead of like focusing on his actual girlfriend. Like, she probably just wants someone else around that is also a guy to try and keep this guy in check so he doesn't hit on you. Like, that's my take at least, but it really does seem like he is not being faithful, or he's just an awful person altogether, because their relationship does not sound healthy in the slightest. My sister lives with me and my fiance, and she doesn't respect my home at all. And right now I'm at my breaking point dealing with her, and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So for a bit of background, my sister has lived with us for a few years. In June of 2023, we purchased our first home, and before that, we lived in a couple of different apartments, and she lived with us then as well. And I really need advice on how to handle this situation in the best way, all without ruining my relationship with my sister and the rest of my family. For as long as I can remember, my sister has really struggled with keeping her room clean. It has gotten increasingly worse since she moved out of our parents' house and in with me. She cannot seem to keep it clean no matter what I did, and both my mom and I have tried talking to her about it, but she always has excuses as to why it's dirty. She is in college and has a job, but does not contribute financially. In fact, my parents pay for her to live with us. We supply anything that she could ever need to clean her room and her clothes, and she does not have to purchase detergent or anything else for that matter. Now, when I say dirty, I don't mean just clothes on the floor and clutter. She will leave food in her room and empty food containers or other food-related trash in her room for weeks. She will have cups that have grown mold from how long they're left in there. There are trash bags full of food-related items and trash in there a good majority of the time. If she left clothes on the floor, I really wouldn't be too concerned. My concern is having bugs in the house from all the food, or even mold growing somewhere. She also will take food of mine and eat it and leave it in her room, or go to bed and take my personal belongings from the kitchen and just never return them. I constantly find myself looking for things that she has taken and not returned. I honestly feel like it's extremely disrespectful and rude to behave that way, but I have tried to be understanding because I do think she is struggling mentally or has ADHD or some other disorder that is causing this. Anytime you try to talk to her about it, she just shuts down and doesn't end up cleaning or anything else. I have pushed for her to go to therapy for years, but you can't force someone to do something they don't care to do. It's gotten to the point where I have confronted my mom for help, and I even had her schedule a therapy appointment for my sister. So she finally has an appointment for June, and I'm hoping this will end up helping, but I'm just not sure that it will. I understand that it's my house and I make the rules or whatever, but I really have no leverage. I can't physically make her clean her room, and it seems like she is actively avoiding cleaning by making herself busy with other things. If I make her move out, her living situation will only get worse because I keep all the common areas clean. She is only responsible for her room and can't even manage that. I have cleaned her room for her in the past, only for it to be trashed just days later. I also cleaned the bathroom that she uses because it would be a filthy mess if not. Now again, it is my house, so I don't mind cleaning the bathroom so much, but I do feel like it would be common courtesy to at least try to keep it a little bit clean. I am getting increasingly frustrated, and I feel helpless in my own home. I
I have thought of removing her door from the hinges, but I don't think that is a healthy or mature thing to do. But I am just at a complete loss. I don't know what to do for someone that won't help themselves get the help that they need. I have offered to help her find someone to talk to or go with her and everything else, but she just keeps putting it off, and it's now been years. And right about now, I'm at my breaking point, and I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, I seriously need to question a few things you said, because you said, okay, it's my house, but I don't have any leverage. Like, what are you talking about? Of course you have leverage. This is your home. You have full control over who does and does not live here. And I'm not saying you need to kick her out or anything like that, because I think this is a nuanced situation that only you can figure out. But if she does want to live there, if I was in your shoes, I would lay some very basic ground rules. I would tell her that if her room isn't clean, then she's gotta go. If she's not contributing to the household, then she also has to go. Like, there's no reason for you to be held hostage by your sister not cleaning her room. Like, are you just gonna keep cleaning up after her for the rest of her life? And is she gonna live in your house for the rest of your life? Because here's how I see it, at least. She is not respecting your home in the slightest. She doesn't contribute financially despite having a job, and it sounds like the parents are bankrolling the fact that she gets to live with you instead of them. And based on the way she lives, I'm kind of seeing why that's happening. So in my opinion, I don't think it's unreasonable to set expectations for your sister who is a roommate. Because in my opinion, by doing nothing to try and get things figured out, you're no longer helping her, but instead enabling her. And in my opinion, you should not have to deal with that in the slightest. Would I be the jerk if I tell my friend that her son is not welcome to stay in my house unless he is responsible for himself? Because my last experience with him was very frustrating, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so for a bit of context, I'm a 31-year-old female, and my best friend is a single mom with a 14-year-old boy. She has low contact with her parents because they kicked her out when she got pregnant in high school, so she does not have a big support system. We are really close, and I've always done what I could to help her. Her son is my nephew, not in blood, but in every other way that counts. She does everything for her son, and I honestly mean everything. He doesn't even pick up his plate from the table after he finishes eating. She just does it for him. While I personally don't think this is a good way to raise a child, I never gave her my opinion, and she never asked for it. It's honestly none of my business how she decided to raise her child, and I'm not a mom, so how can I give parenting advice? Last week, my friend had to take a 2-day business trip and had another one scheduled for next week. She asked me if her son could stay at my house the days that she's out of town, because she doesn't feel comfortable leaving him in their house. I agreed, and he stayed with me for 2 days last week. Well, those 2 days were a frustrating experience for the both of us, because he kept expecting me to do everything for him, including packing his bag for school, picking up his clothing whenever he dropped them, serving him cereal in the morning, washing his dishes, and waking him up in the morning to go to school. He even blamed me because he missed the school bus because I didn't make sure that he woke up before his alarm rang. I mean, I heard his alarm, but I assumed he was awake. I am not eager to repeat this experience. I love that child, but he is too old for this, I think. Besides, I have a demanding job. I don't have the time or the energy to be the maid or babysitter of a teenage boy, even if it's just for 2 days. I'm thinking about telling my friend that if she wants her son to stay with me next week, he has to be responsible for himself. I can promise to cook him 3 meals a day, and I can make sure he is up for school, but he needs to pick up his own clothing, pack his own bags, and wash his own dishes. Otherwise, he just can't stay. I don't feel this is unreasonable, but I kind of feel bad for putting down these conditions, because she doesn't have a big support system, and if I don't let him stay at my house, it'll be really hard for her to find somewhere else to drop him off. So honestly, would I be the jerk in this situation? What should I do? No, I don't think you would be the jerk at all, in my opinion. I think it's completely reasonable to set up some kind of expectations between you and this kid, because at the end of the day, this is your house. You do set the rules, and this is something that you can enforce. So going to the mom and saying, hey, it was fine having him for those 2 days, but if he wants to stay here again, then he needs to start pulling his weight. And honestly, I don't care how he's raised at home. If he is going to be staying at your house, then he has to go by your rules. Like, that's just common courtesy, and it's kind of expected. If you're going to someone else's house, then you have to follow what they want you to do in their home, because the way this 14-year-old was acting is completely inappropriate in your home, and there is no reason you should have to be his maid all because he doesn't want to do stuff. Am I the jerk for warning my friend about a coworker of mine who only goes on dates to try and get free meals out of men? Because right now, my female coworker is furious with me after she had to pay a $70 bill she was expecting my friend to pay, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 28-year-old male, and I work with this woman that we will call Linda. Linda is not her real name. And let me
me just say that Linda has a very annoying habit. She has a dating profile that she uses specifically to lure guys in just to buy her expensive dinners at restaurants she wants to try, and then she ghosts them. Linda brags about this all the time and is never interested in actually dating, but she'll act like it just to sell it. Now, I can't stand this because it's obviously playing with people's hearts, but Linda thinks it's a life hack to try food or drinks she otherwise couldn't afford. My friend we will call Donald is not his real name, is also on dating sites, but he is there for the right reasons. His late wife passed away a few years ago, and he has just started jumping back into the dating scene. Donald is a very sweet guy, and I really want him to find a great lady. A few days ago, he texted me asking if I knew Linda, because wouldn't you guess it, they matched up and got to talking about work, which is how he found out we worked at the same place. So I told him all about Linda's BS with the restaurant thing, and made it very clear to him that he would do best to drop things with her early on. Donald said that he would probably still do the date, but asked for separate checks. Well, they went out this past weekend, and on Monday, Linda came into work very upset. I asked her how the date with Donald went, and she ripped into me. She was asking me if I was the one who told him not to pay for her dinner. Apparently, she had Donald take her to a high-end steakhouse, and she ended up splurging. She got a drink, a full entree with a side and dessert, whereas Donald ended up just getting a sandwich and a salad. Her bill alone came out to about $70, and she was almost in tears at work as she didn't expect to pay for it, and now her car was low on gas. Now, I got a little upset too, as she tried to use my friend as a literal meal ticket, but somehow she doesn't see it that way. Donald told me later that the date was going kind of well until he asked for separate checks, because then suddenly Linda got very weirdly cold. Now Linda's mad at me because I told someone about her little tactic and it backfired on her. I don't feel I did anything wrong since it was a grieving friend I was protecting, but some other people we work with said that I should have stayed out of it because it was none of my business. So I need to know, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? There's no way you are the jerk in this situation. Linda finally got exactly what she deserved. She was using guys just to try and get some kind of free meal out of their date. She didn't care about dating at all. She just wanted free food from pretty much anybody around her. Like, that is really messed up, and you can't just do that to people and expect to get away with it. Like, if I was in the original poster's shoes, I would have told Donald immediately as well. Like, I would not want this very nice guy to get screwed over by this lady who's just using him. And I love the fact that she racked up a $70 bill for dinner. Like, this is karma working its magic in a beautiful way. So no, you're definitely not the jerk. Anyone who says that you are the jerk is completely wrong, and in my opinion, Linda got exactly what she deserved. A shady, sketchy car dealership tried to scam me out of the car I was trying to buy after I flew out to their dealership just to get it. But after being confronted with this bait and switch, the entitled general manager of this location mockingly told me that if I didn't like it, then I should just leave a bad review online. So I decided to get some revenge and maliciously comply, resulting in them losing about $50,000 over the next 2 to 3 years. And I've honestly never been happier to watch karma take its course. Here's what happened. So the city I live in has extremely inflated vehicle values, especially compared to the surrounding areas. If you buy the same car from a neighboring state, you can often save about $4,000 without even really trying. When I buy a new vehicle, which happens about every 3 to 4 years, I always look in the surrounding states just to compare pricings. This story happened about 5 years ago, and the malicious compliance is still ongoing to this day. I was shopping for a brand new car, and I found one that matched my specifications about 12 hours away in a neighboring state, and it was priced about $5,000 below what I was seeing. After looking up flights, there was a one-way direct flight that took me to their local airport for about $175. Now, if I include the gas money that I'm going to use to drive back, I was looking at a total of maybe $275, which would save me about $5,000 overall. So I knew it was absolutely worth it in this situation. I reached out to the dealership, I negotiated for a little bit, and I agreed on a price. I let them know that I would be flying in to pick up the car, and I offered to pay in full in advance of the flight. They told me that all they needed was a $1,000 deposit and that the car was considered mine. We signed a contract and I paid the deposit, and then I booked the flight for 3 days from then. But it's right about here that I saw my first signs that things have gone wrong. When I showed up at the airport, the dealership was supposed to pick me up as this had been arranged in advance. A quick phone call later, and I ended up grabbing an Uber just to take me the 20 miles to the dealership with the promise of them covering the cost. And I thought to myself, okay, no big deal either way. Well, the second sign that things were going wrong was when I showed up to the dealership, the salesman that I had been speaking with asked me if I wanted to walk the lot with him to look for a few cars. And yes, he said cars as in multiple cars. Questioning what he meant by this, we walked into the lot to see all these cars that he was talking about. Now, were these some special type of gold inlaid, full self-driving, full self-flying amazing mobiles? No, they were definitely not. When I point blank asked to see the car that I was buying, you know, the one with a specific VIN number in the signed contract with a deposit on it, I was told it was no longer available. So the salesman offered to show me similar cars, which would have been fine if we were able to come to some similar terms on pricings. But all these cars were outrageously priced. They were way too expensive for my taste. Fast forward about 2 to 3 hours, and I'm now convinced this dealership never had this specific car on the lot, and that this was 100% a bait and switch gone wrong. The dealership was unwilling to sell me a similar vehicle at a similar price to our negotiated one. We were about $5,000 apart, and they were unwilling to pay for the flight costs for this bait and switch scenario. A heated discussion ensued between myself and the general manager, where he finally said to me, "Go ahead, leave a bad review," but then stated that I wasn't getting any free money from him. I took an Uber to a nearby hotel and I booked a flight home the next day, costing me in total about $750. So this is where my malicious compliance comes into play. You see, this dealership had an average Google rating of right around 4.5 stars and had around 400 total reviews, so it supposedly was a pretty good dealership. Well, that night while I was sitting in the hotel room, I had some time to burn, so I spent a couple of hours creating new email accounts just so that I can leave multiple reviews for this dealership. And after all was said and done, I had left around 20 one-star reviews over the course of that night, and then sort of stopped caring about the reviews. At this point, my focus shifted to recovering my lost travel expenses. A few days after getting back, I sent the dealership a demand letter for $750, which they very promptly ignored. Since we had done the original contract with the deposit in both states, I was allowed to file a small claims court to sue in my state, which is exactly what I did. The dealership never showed up to court, and I received a default judgment for $750, and I did collect that, by the way. It took a few certified letters, a few phone calls, and about a year, but I did get a check for $750. As you can imagine, I was still not a happy camper. What they had done was wrong on so many levels. All my friends knew the story about how these people tried to bait and switch me, and the fact that I flew to the dealership on a one-way ticket only made it much worse. So they had all left a bad review or two, but nothing more than a normal mad customer. Now, I don't know how this next part started or how it ended up lasting as long as it has, but at some point I had some time on my hands, and I left a bad review for this dealership. And I left just one. Not two, not three, only one. In doing so, I noticed that all the reviews I had left right after leaving the dealership were gone. They were probably taken down for being fake, or because I left so many at the same time and the dealership reported them. I wanted to make sure this dealership wouldn't do this to someone else, so the next day I checked to make sure that one bad review that I had just left was still there. And when I checked, it was. And since I was thinking about it, I went ahead and created another account and left another one-star review. Well, fast forward 2 to 3 years later, and it has now become a habit. Every time I have a few minutes to spare, I create a new account and leave a one-star review for this dealership. Their current rating is 1.9 stars with nearly 3,000 total reviews, and I am personally responsible for at least half of those reviews. When you open the dealer's website, one of the large banners that flashes across the screen advertises that you will get $50 for a 5-star review. By showing your review to the salesman, they'll give you a $50 Visa gift card. It has been this way since about a year after this bait and switch occurred, and right around the time the 1-star reviews began to accumulate. Now, assuming I'm responsible for half of their reviews, and the fact that the dealership only has about 3,500 total reviews, they have paid $50 per review for at least 1,000 reviews, and likely more than that, meaning they have implemented a policy to pay for reviews and have spent about $50,000 doing so. And even with this incentive, they still have seen their average rating drop consistently ever since telling me to go ahead and leave a bad review. And honestly, they got exactly what they deserved. Wow, that is insane that they bait and switched you like that. I think I would lose my mind if I got there just for my car not to be there. Like seriously, you paid a deposit and you literally took a one-way flight out there just to get the stupid car and drive it back. Like that's an entirely different level of sketchy. It's just not even funny. And the fact that the general manager didn't even have a heart. Like you trusted him and he completely just blew you off, instead trying to sell you a more expensive car just because they got you on the lot. That's super disrespectful, and in my opinion, it completely justifies all the actions that you did, because they really set out some bad karma into the universe, and they basically brought this onto themselves. But I think overall, the way you got back at these people and the way you played the long game, in my opinion, is completely hilarious, as these people absolutely had it coming. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my stepson and his newly pregnant girlfriend move into my place with my wife? Because right now, my wife and I are having a fight over this, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. My wife and I have been married for around 3 years. We don't have any kids together, but she has 2 kids from a previous relationship. She has a 21-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old male. For reference, we're both in our 40s. Now, I have decent relationships with her kids, but due to their ages when I met their mom, I never assumed a father-type role, and they never expected me to fill that for them. Their biological dad is involved in their lives, and we all get along pretty well. My stepdaughter is at college, so we don't really see her very often. My stepson Joe lives a few hours away from us with his girlfriend, and he works full-time. A couple of weeks ago, Joe called my wife and asked if he and his girlfriend could visit. My wife was very excited because she hadn't seen Joe in a while, but Joe never visits for fun. It's almost always when he needs something, and he knows that my wife has a harder time saying no if he asked her in person. So I wasn't surprised at all when Joe and his girlfriend excitedly told us that they found out they were expecting and that his girlfriend is 9 weeks pregnant. After the initial excitement and tears from my wife, Joe dropped the question I knew that was coming. They want to move in with my wife and I while they get their feet underneath them because their current one-room apartment isn't big enough for a baby. My wife looked at me and must have sensed my hesitation because she said this is something that we all need to discuss first to make sure it will work. Joe and his girlfriend agreed and told us to ask them anything. My wife asked a few questions about whether or not this was planned and what their plans are besides moving in with us. Joe and his girlfriend started talking about how their apartment could work if absolutely needed, but it's tiny and there's no separate room for the baby. They could also save a lot of money by living with us and get a better place sooner than that. Then Joe's girlfriend said that it wasn't planned, but they are both excited to be parents. She said that she had to switch birth control due to a hormonal imbalance and that Joe hates to use protection and this just kind of happened. Now, Joe then made some really inappropriate jokes about using protection, and I had been mostly quiet up to this point, but after Joe made that joke, I spoke up. I told them that it sounds like both of them knew that the girlfriend was in a transition period with birth control, and they knew this sort of thing could happen, and yet they still chose to be stupid about it. I told them they are idiots if they think I'm going to be okay with them moving in with us, especially with a baby when this situation was completely preventable by them not being dumb. Joe's girlfriend started crying, and my wife and Joe immediately started consoling her. My wife scolded me for being too harsh and that we all still have a lot to talk about. Well, my wife and I have been fighting about this ever since. She thinks that we need to help in any way that we can, but I think that since Joe and his girlfriend were dumb enough to get themselves into this, I don't want to end up being responsible for a baby when they inevitably do something dumb again. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Honestly, I don't think you're the jerk at all. I think them moving in with you is a complete mistake, and I would not want to deal with that in the slightest, because I think the original poster's onto something. It really does sound like Joe and his girlfriend are just incredibly irresponsible. Like if they didn't want a kid, they very much should have used protection, and that really is their own fault. And for them to be like, ooh, can we move in with you? It's not because they want to have a better place. It's because they are in over their heads and they don't know what to do. So they're hoping that mom and dad can step in and try to help with this situation, which I just don't think is going to add up. Like, think about it. If they move to where you live right now, they're going to have to quit their jobs to do that. And unless they work remotely or something like that, I can really see them becoming such a massive nuisance in your life. So no, you are definitely not the jerk. It seems like they're having a big wake-up call about the realities of becoming a parent, and if they didn't want that to happen, then they really should have been more careful. Am I the jerk for not wanting either of my future sister-in-laws as my bridesmaid at my future wedding? Because honestly, these people have been rude to me for such a long time. But right now, I'm being argued against by my fiance and his family to change my mind and allow them to be my bridesmaid. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. My fiance and I have been together for nearly 8 years, and we've been engaged for a little over 1 year. We've also been living with each other since 2021, and around this time, an animosity between his parents and one of his sisters started to develop. We've had some ups and downs, usually starting a down period when I say or do something they don't like or agree agree with, such as having some kind of boundary. Now, I could list every infraction over the last few years and end up with an encyclopedia level of volumes where 99% of those would make you laugh. But these down periods have usually ended up making a compromise, which more or less has me having to make a 180-degree turn just to try and keep the peace. Now, none of these boundaries are unreasonable, by the way. For example, I would ask them not to turn up at our house unannounced or uninvited, or to only invite us to dinner over the weekend. We work an average of 12-hour shifts on the weekdays, and this is just to name a couple. However, these two in particular cause the most grief because apparently it means that I don't like them. Now, when it comes to planning for our wedding, we're having a small ceremony maxing out at about 50 people. We agreed we only wanted a small wedding party with 2 bridesmaids, 2 groomsmen, no page boys or flower girls, and I only chose my sister as a maid of honor and a close friend as my bridesmaid. We sent out the save the dates, and my fiance handed his personally to his family. Well, no sooner had he done that, had his mother gotten in his face and demanded to know why neither of his sisters were in the bridal party. My fiance mentioned that we were originally going to elope, but felt that this excluded family, so we opted for a small wedding. His mom then stated that she would prefer us to elope, and then said that I should remove my close friend as a bridesmaid and have one of his sisters instead. Now, originally, he had no problem with not having his sisters as bridesmaids, but now he's seeming to have changed his mind. But I think that his mom getting in his face has caused some emotional conflict in his mind, and he just wants to keep her happy. Now, because I usually have to give in to any of their demands, I don't want to change our arrangements, and I want this aspect to remain solely my choice. And it's also more to the point that I've never asked him to include one of my brothers as a groomsman in his party. That is completely his choice. But now this has caused a whole argument where I'm being called a jerk and spiteful because I don't want to give in. I've always been told that the wedding is about the couple, and it's not their responsibility to keep everybody happy with their choices. And given their history, I can't trust that they'll get their way this one time and then not demand more changes the closer we get to the date. So I don't think I'm being unreasonable, right? I mean, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? You're not the jerk at all, and it seems like your soon-to-be in-laws and extended family are incredibly entitled and love to just trample all over your plans. Like if it somehow doesn't appeal to them, then they don't want to hear about it and they want it changed, with your fiance being the key to that problem. He clearly is easily guilt-tripped by his mom or his sisters, and he will just start changing things just to make them happy, when in reality he should be trying to make you happy. Like, this all sounds super obnoxious and I would hate to have to deal with these people. So it kind of makes sense as to why you would want to elope. Like, this just doesn't seem like it's worth the trouble, and if anything, it seems like it's just a massive headache across the board. So no, I don't think you're the jerk. I think it's a great idea for you to say, nope, this is my wedding, you don't get a say in it. Because it really seems like with these people, if you give them an inch, they will take 7 miles. And in my opinion, I think it's better to set this boundary now than have to deal with this for the entirety of your life. The mother of my daughter's friend demands that we get in a relationship together, or else she's going to ruin the friendship that my daughter and her daughter have finally cultivated. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I'm a widower with a 12-year-old daughter. My wife passed away 6 years ago, and it was super hard on both me and my daughter. I've been focused on being a single parent and a father, and I'm trying to be the best that I can be. And with the support from family plus therapy for the both of us, we are managing okay. And I do know that it was very hard for my daughter to make friends for a while after this all happened. For the past 2 years, she's had this really good friend. They are pretty much inseparable. I've seen the difference this friend has made to my daughter's life, and it's been amazing. The friend has a mother who is also a single parent, and we started interacting more than a year ago when our daughters got closer, and I thought we were pretty good friends. Well, a few weeks ago, she told me that she had feelings for me. Now, I do not feel the same way, unfortunately. She's a great person, but I just don't feel that way about her, and I was honest about it. Well, when I said that, she did not take it well, and I empathized. I think we've all been there. But in the past 2 weeks, she asked me again. She said things like, oh, I just want you to give me a chance, and how she feels we would be great together, and that it would be good for the kids. And then 2 days ago, she said she might have to restrict her daughter from being friends with mine because it's a painful reminder to her about me. So I'm now at a point where I really don't know what to do. Her friend cutting off contact will set my daughter back and really mess with her, and I will feel 100% responsible for that. But on the other hand, being forced into a relationship feels so wrong and so weird. I mean, it's not fair to anybody. So right now I'm at a loss and I seriously don't know what to do. I'm sorry, but the mom in this story sounds insane.
Seriously, think about what she's saying to you. She's giving you an ultimatum. Either you date her and get in a relationship with her, or else she's gonna take away this friend that your daughter really likes. And now you're somehow convinced that would be your fault? Like, no, this is not your fault. This would be entirely her fault for being crazy. You can't just force someone to be in a relationship with you and then turn around to try and ruin something in your life all because you said no. Like, it kind of makes sense as to why she's single in the first place. So if I was in your shoes, I would definitely be creating some distance between myself and this crazy lady. And if this lady wants to try and like ruin the friendship between your daughter and her daughter, then all of that is literally her fault. And you are definitely not to blame in the slightest. Am I the jerk for body shaming my stepsister in front of everybody? Because right now she is very upset with me. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I'm a 22-year-old female and I lost 90 pounds of weight. Last week, my boyfriend and I visited my parents for dinner. Now, I don't normally visit because it's a 3-hour drive, so it's a once or twice a year kind of thing. The first thing that people complimented me on was my weight. My mom, who knew of me trying to manage my pre-diabetes, congratulated me on getting things under control. Meanwhile, my stepsister, who is 40 years old, said that I look so much better now. But I said I don't want to talk about how I look. I then decided to help my mom cook. Well, my stepsister would occasionally walk in to check in and would start again on how I look. She would say things like, "See, losing weight was the best. I bet guys are talking to you more now." Or she would say, "You used to have such wider shoulders. Now it's skinnier. It looks really good." Every time I just grew more and more uncomfortable. My mom tried to tell her off, but I just stopped her to avoid drama. Dinner happened and we all sat down. I was eating some flan, which is sweet and caloric, but not bad to eat very occasionally, and my stepsister made a face when she tried it. She commented that I should watch my weight. Now, this was the tipping point. I told her that I've asked her multiple times not to tell me how I look, and I asked her how she would like it if I kept mentioning her appearance. She said that she wouldn't mind. So I said to her, "Did you get a lot of compliments on your fake chest? I mean, it's great that you got bigger ones, your real ones were too small." Well, my stepdad is now furious, because for starters, she's broke and can barely pay her bills but spent money on surgery. And secondly, that dinner was ruined and an argument happened. After that, my boyfriend and I just left. I said goodbye to my mom and then I headed out, with my mom saying to me that we're not inviting my stepsister to dinner anymore. My stepsister then started spreading rumors about how much of a jerk I am and how I'm now egotistical just because I'm not as fat anymore. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? No, you're definitely not the jerk. Your stepsister very clearly loved to kind of poke the bear and see how far she could get by talking about your weight. Like, first of all, that's really rude and that's completely inappropriate. So the fact that she got upset when you flipped the script and started talking about the way that she looks, in my opinion, is hilarious. This is hilarious proof to me that she can dish it, but she absolutely cannot take it. And the second the conversation is turned towards her, she suddenly is going to get really offended. So no, you're definitely not the jerk. Your stepsister had it coming, and if she's unhappy, then she shouldn't have started it in the first place. My Karen of a coworker thinks that she can bully me and throw a fit all because she's twice my age, claiming that I cut an attitude with her, even though I went out of my way to help her with her job. Because right now, I'm considering going to my supervising manager to explain to them exactly what's going on. But at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 23-year-old female, and I work the night shift as a CNA in a nursing home. And I don't know why the other CNA I worked with last night felt the need to target me last night, as it was my first time ever working with her. She very obviously singled me out looking for a problem. Now, I am a hard worker, and I have zero interest in any kind of drama. I come to work to take care of my patients, I get paid, and then I leave. Now, I may be overly bothered by this because I have anger problems that I worked hard on keeping in control due to some past issues in my life. And I know that I have to keep it together to be successful for my dream career, so I just need to vent. So this lady comes in a few minutes after me, and I don't recognize her, so I go out of my way to be helpful and ask her if she's familiar with the patients that she's assigned to, and then I give her the rundown of the patients and their needs and let her know where I'll be if she needs any help. After I finish checking on the people that I'm assigned to take care of that night, I sit down and start taking notes for a class I'm taking, and she comes up and asks me for help when it comes to repositioning a patient in bed that can't move on her own. So I drop what I'm doing and I go to help her out. Now, to reposition a patient, you first use the bed remote to lift the bed up above your waist so that you don't hurt your back bending over, and then you get someone on each side of the bed to lift them up and turn them. So we get to the ladies' room, and I grab the bed remote and start lifting it up, but it pauses for a second because
because of the shortage in the wire. So it takes me a little more than 2 seconds to reposition it to start lifting the bed just a little bit more. Well, the other CNA raises her voice at me while bobbing her head around with an attitude that the bed needs to be way higher than that. And I explained to her that I was trying to lift the bed, but it paused for a second and that I know how to do it. She then goes off on me about what I am and am not allowed to say to her, and acting so aggressive over nothing that even the patient and her roommate are looking at her confused and concerned. I didn't want to feed into her obvious attempts to make a scene, so I shrug it off and I finish helping her reposition the lady, and then I turn around and I walk out of the room and I go back to the nurse's station. Moments later, I get up to answer a call light, and when I'm walking back to the nurse's station, the other CNA is standing there, and before I make it back to my seat, she starts yelling at me about how she is 47 years old and she's a 20-year-old veteran of this career and that I better watch my mouth, and then just goes on and brings up my age several times and how she even has kids older than me, and was saying stuff like, I don't know what your problem is, but you will respect me. But the thing is, I literally did not disrespect this woman once, and even went out of my way to be nice to her. The whole time I kept repeating that I'm not going to argue with her and that I'm just here to do my job and that I don't care about her age or her work experience. I told her just to stop and that I'm not arguing with her multiple times, but eventually I just walked away because I felt myself starting to shake and my heart started to race, and I didn't want to go off and regret it later. Now, like I said, I have anger issues, so I get out of sight and I lock myself in a bathroom, shaking, trying to catch my breath while my heart is racing and pounding. I was nearly in tears because this woman was almost in my face about something stupid, and I couldn't just blow up on her about it, and I wanted to so badly. I get myself together, and once I stop shaking, I walk out of the nurse's station to the nurse who witnessed it all, and I told her what happened in the patient's room. Meanwhile, I can hear the other CNA talking loudly to the other nurse all the way down the other hall about how she didn't even do anything to that little girl, and all I did was ask for help. And this is all despite the fact that I dropped what I was doing to help her with zero complaints. Then, for the rest of the shift, she was staring me down and gossiping with the other nurse, but then would get quiet and try to listen to my conversations with another nurse, even though it was all work-related. I'm even thinking about asking the supervisor of the nursing staff to watch the cameras at the nurse's station so they can see how she jumped down my throat when I was minding my own business, but I don't want to cause more problems. I probably sound so ridiculous for getting so worked up over someone acting like a child, but it really had me struggling to hold back, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, this is the one thing I've learned about working in some kind of work environment, and it is this simple fact. You have every right to defend your good name and your own reputation against someone who is trying to slander you. And I can promise you, by letting this slide and doing nothing about it, this other coworker is only going to cause more problems in your career. She literally was looking for a fight. She saw you off to the side, and for whatever reason, she felt that she could pick a fight with you and ruin your day. And based on her attitude, I can see that she's only been in this job for 20 years. So with all that in mind, I think you absolutely should go to your manager and say, no, let's look at the cameras. Let's make this into a bigger problem than we need to, because this lady is going to slander your reputation. I only speak from experience in this regard, and this is just my opinion, but I've had coworkers like this who are so unhinged and unhappy with their life that they will happily try to tank your career if it somehow makes them look better or feel better. And this entitled Karen absolutely fits that bill. So in my opinion, I think you are well within your rights to step up to your manager and explain to her exactly what happened, how this lady's trying to spread a false narrative about you, and how she's saying disparaging things about you to other people. Because at the end of the day, this lady sounds like a bully, and it sounds like she's trying to harass you, and you do not deserve to put up with that for a single minute. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Would I be the jerk to accept my estranged brother back into the family fold, all against my niece's wishes? Because right now, she's saying she will never talk to us again if we ever allow him back in our lives. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my brother married a narcissistic woman, and he was what you would call the enabling parent. His wife scapegoated their oldest daughter, and he went along with it to keep the peace, and bought into his ex-wife's BS that it was the child's fault, and they were both emotionally awful towards her literally her entire life. So I, my other sisters, and parents all knew she was bad news well before they got married, but he would hear none of it and was so enmeshed with this woman. She isolated him and the kids from all of us, so we didn't get to have a relationship relationship with them growing up. The eldest daughter went no contact with them when she reached her 30s, and my brother tried to strong-arm her back into the family fold because his now ex-wife was making his life a living nightmare, and he just wanted her off his back. The eldest daughter, who was the scapegoat of this family, ended up leaving the family, and when they finally turned on the golden child, she woke up and she left too. And that was when my brother finally saw the light and divorced this woman. The eldest daughter found out, so me, my sisters, and our kids and her cousins on Facebook all developed a relationship with her. She's been in therapy and has come a long way, but that poor girl is still so traumatized. She even qualifies for a service dog. It was so bad. Ever since my brother has finally woken up and realized we aren't the villains his ex made us out to be, he wants to recover the family that he's lost. His daughter wants nothing to do with him ever again, and I don't blame her. I told him I understand that he was a victim of a narcissist, but he had a responsibility to protect his child, and he failed miserably. He threw his child under the bus to keep a woman in his bed, and I told him that I'm disgusted with him for that, and I'm horrified that he treated his daughter so badly for years, despite being brainwashed by his ex-wife. I told him we would be willing to reconnect with some ground rules set in place. For starters, his daughter wants nothing to do with him, so he cannot ask us to encourage reconciliation on his behalf because we will not. These are literally the consequences of his actions. And secondly, she gets first choice of family events. He can only come if she is not there. Now, I thought this was a reasonable compromise, but my niece is so upset. She's saying that if we have anything at all to do with him, she will go no contact with all of us, and that these rules aren't good enough. Now, I hate what he did to her, but he too was a victim, and he is my brother, and I don't want to have to choose, and I think I've made very reasonable compromises, but she's giving me an ultimatum. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Okay, so in my opinion, you definitely can reach out to your brother, but there's probably going to be consequences that come along with it. Like, she absolutely was really treated horribly. She had no love in her life when she lived with her dad and her mom, and things are so bad that she literally needs a service dog just to function. So I can confidently say that she has every right to be upset with you right now. She thought she could trust you. She thought she was away from her crazy father, and she thought she was finally free of that garbage. But here you are welcoming him back into your life, even though you know of all the terrible things that happened to her. Like, in my opinion, it just doesn't seem like a good idea, and I think this is only going to cause a rift in the family. You will literally drive this lady away, and she probably will never come back. And sure, your brother's the victim of a narcissist, but guess what? He was an adult making conscious choices. This guy knew what he was doing, and he did it anyways. So in my opinion, you have got to weigh all the options here, because this is a very sketchy situation that you're trying to navigate. Am I the jerk for asking my sister-in-law to return a gift that she gave me that I blatantly did not ask for on my list? Because right now, I'm seriously not sure what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 36-year-old female, and I had a birthday a few weeks ago. For context, I am fortunate enough to be doing well enough with work that I'm pretty comfortable money-wise, and I just don't really need anything. However, I had several friends and family members that still wanted to give me gifts, so I made a small list of ideas with some items ranging from $10 to $60, thinking that the higher items would be picked up by people like my parents or my husband, who are also doing fine. Well, enter my sister-in-law. I'll be honest, we aren't that close. She is not doing very well, and she is living from paycheck to paycheck. She frequently buys loads of stuff from places like Temu because it's cheap, but not because she necessarily needs it. Inconsiderate may not be a 100% fair description of her as a gifter, because she's often in the right category. Like, if one of the kids is into art, she will get them one of their art kits, but it's gonna be the cheapest one that she can possibly find, where all the paints and markers are dried out before you even open it. Lots of gifts like that, where it's the cheapest possible version of what you might have wanted, or used items when not appropriate. Now, used books are awesome, but less so as used makeup. The family has tried suggesting to her a few times that if she really wants to spend $10 on us, we would all really prefer to get one $10 item instead of 10 $1 items, as the stuff she gives often doesn't work or otherwise just becomes a burden to have to try and throw away or even recycle. Anyways, I didn't realize she had gotten a hold of my birthday wish list until a gift arrived in the mail, and it was a very cheap massager. For context, I have horrific chronic pain, and I go to a massage therapist frequently, and I had even put gift cards to my massage therapist on the list. I already have a nice massager too, by the way, so there's no need for one that doesn't seem like it would work that long. So I thanked my sister-in-law for the thought, but asked if they might be able to return it, as I already had one, and I said that she really didn't need to get me something. I said I appreciated the sentiment, but I would prefer if they kept their money for themselves. Well, my sister-in-law got very defensive, saying that she got me something from the list and that I was a jerk for rejecting her gift. I said I already had a massager that suited my needs well, and she said that I was a snob because not everyone could afford the exact things on my list. I had not been expecting anything from her, but I had tried to provide ideas at several price points, as there are a couple of other people in the family with tight budgets who still insisted on getting something. I reiterated that I was happy to get birthday wishes from her, but she did not need to feel obligated to get me anything, and I would prefer that she use that money for herself. She then called me ungrateful and then just hung up. Now, my husband understands, but says I probably should have just accepted the gift and either tossed it quietly or given it away or something like that. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Honestly, I can kind of see both sides of this. I can understand that you're kind of sick of getting cheap stuff all the time from your sister-in-law, but also I do kind of feel like maybe this was like the wrong time to do this. Maybe she really did come from a good place where she's like, okay, I'll get you a massager or something like that. I don't think it was like a vindictive way of like giving you a gift, but also I don't think it was the most thought out gift either. It definitely felt like it was like, all right, whatever, here's a massager, go for it. But maybe also like that's all she could afford. I feel like there's a lot of nuance here that we can't quite completely understand. So I don't think you're totally the jerk, but I can say confidently that the timing of all of this is really wrong. I think this should have been done in a different way and in a different setting, especially considering that gifts were kind of expected for your birthday. And hopefully with some time, things can repair in the future, because from the sounds of it, it kind of seems like this was a sore subject that was gonna come up pretty much regardless. Am I the jerk for not wanting my sister to live with me, all because she's not willing to do the things that my current roommate is actively doing? Here's what happened. So I'm a 30-year-old male and I live with my best friend, and I pay all of our bills. Now, as an important point of context, my best friend is gay, and he was exposed by a cousin to the family while finishing college, and his parents simply stopped helping and disowned him. He went into a deep depression where he had to stop working and take a break from college because he was having such a hard time. He helped me with what he had saved, and when everything was done, he said he would leave because he couldn't help anymore, and at the time, I was already working and had a good salary. I told him to relax and that I managed the bills, and since then, we've had this arrangement for 3 years. My best friend has developed health problems that make it difficult for him to get a job. During this time, he, of his own free will, started taking care of the house and making our food, saying that it was his way of giving back for everything that I do. He even jokes that he's a stay-at-home friend, and I don't mind paying for everything. The problem is that my mother doesn't have such a good financial situation, and when my sister was accepted to college in my city, she called me with my sister telling me the news and asked me if she could live with me, and she said that she wouldn't be able to help much with the bills. Well, I responded by saying that there is no space at home because I live with my best friend. She then asked if I could help with the bills when she lives in my city, and I replied that I couldn't do that. I already have my own responsibilities, and I could not commit to helping with that as well. She then finally realized that my best friend living with me is the same friend that I help pay the bills for, and then asked me if I still support this friend, and I said yes, but he helped me with many other things. She then exploded on me, saying that I wanted to support a 27-year-old guy, but I couldn't even help my sister who needs help in college. Now, I jokingly asked if my sister would agree to take care of the house, make our food, and help me with other things in exchange for having everything paid for by me, and she replied that she was not my maid. So I responded by saying that I prefer my best friend, because this 27-year-old dude is actually helpful. I hung up before I heard any more garbage, and since then, I've been bombarded with messages from them saying that my sister wouldn't have time to be my maid because she's too busy studying, and that it was unfair to ask her to do the same as someone who doesn't do anything all day. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? No, you are definitely not the jerk. Your family's out of line and your sister sounds obnoxious. Like if I was in your shoes, I would pick my best friend in this scenario over my sister any day. She's not gonna pay for anything in the house. She expects you to pay for all the bills and everything, and she's not gonna help out around the house at all. That sounds really annoying, and I would not want to put up with that either. Also, your best friend is literally doing the best they can. For some additional context, the original poster states that their friend is getting a graduate degree and they're looking forward to a new job. So it really looks like he's getting all of his ducks in a row, and it's not like he's just lazy not doing anything all day. Because if anything, the sister would be the one who's going to be lazy, all the while expecting you to pay for everything in her life. And I know if I was in your shoes, I would not want to try and bankroll another adult in my life. So no, you are definitely not the jerk. I think you have every right to keep your friend friend over your sister, and I know if I was in your shoes, I would make the same decision every single time. Am I the jerk for proving to my boyfriend that the nerds never cared about the popular kids in high school? Because right now, I really think I shattered his heart, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my boyfriend and I are both 25 years old, and we went to the same high school. My boyfriend was talking about our high school days, and he thought the high school version of me would have been thrilled to date the popular guy because I was a nerd. Now, again, we're 25 years old, and it's 2024. Now, I played along for a bit until I realized he wasn't joking. He literally thought that, but I told him that I didn't even know he existed. He was surprised and said that he was a popular kid. He played football and was in the popular crowd, and he even said that I must have been lying. I told him that the nerds never cared about the popular kids in high school because we were fiercely competing amongst ourselves for college admissions. For a backstory on our town, my boyfriend was born and raised there, but I only moved there when I was 13 along with a bunch of other high-achieving kids. That's because an engineering company opened up a branch near that town and brought in a ton of engineers and their families. So it was a sleepy town with a big high school that suddenly got a ton of competitive kids, and I mean insanely competitive. Nobody had time to think about popular kids or really anything but college admissions. I was only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night regularly, and sports like football or cheerleading, which required 5 days a week of training at school, were out of the question. And I saw the same people regularly because we were all in the same classes. So all of the drama was contained within that group of 50 to 100 students or so. And honestly, it paid off for me. I got into a top college and had no student loans. It was literally cheaper than any other state school. And I have to say that I do have a good job and I enjoy it. And in response, my boyfriend said that I'm lying. But you know what? I don't like being called a liar. So I literally reached out to all of my high school nerd friends, and wouldn't you guess it, they didn't know the popular group and the ins and outs of the dynamics like my boyfriend thought. A few people recognized some names, but like I said, we were really focused on competing with each other. He then got quiet when I proved my case. He said I humiliated him, and I proved my point and we should never mention high school ever again. Well, I talked to his sister, and she said that high school was a special experience for him, and I just ruined his memories. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk, and honestly, I think it's really unhealthy for high school to be like your peak in life. Like, I don't want to say this guy peaked in high school, but it kind of seems like it. There is so much more in life than what you did in high school, and in the grand scheme of things, it holds so much less weight than you really think it does. Like, I know for myself, I am much different than what I was in high school, and that really is a good thing. I can't imagine living my life and somehow think that my life peaked in high school. Like, that would be terrible. Now, don't get me wrong, it really is cool to have awesome achievements from high school, but if those are your only achievements, then that really is not good in my opinion. Like, what have you done after high school? You had to have done something else, right? Like having a good job or getting a degree or some kind of accomplishment. Like, something else has to have stuck out in the future, right? I can also say that if your boyfriend is upset about you proving him wrong, then it literally is his own fault. Like, if he didn't want to be proven wrong, then he shouldn't have chased down this route so heavily. Like, he straight up called her a liar for not knowing anything about him in high school, which, by the way, I kind of relate with the original poster for calling themselves a nerd, because I know for a fact I couldn't name a single person on the football team to this day from my high school days. So no, I do not think the original poster is a jerk in the slightest. I think their boyfriend was being obnoxious for pursuing this point so heavily, and if they didn't want to get offended, then they shouldn't have gone so hard at their girlfriend. An entitled jerk steals the bricks that were sitting in front of my house, claiming that he had every right to them as they were sitting on city property. And I've honestly never been more blown away by someone's ignorance and entitlement in my life. Here's what happened. Okay, so some things are just hard to fathom. Our house is on a downslope, and the front patio sits below the street. Even though we live in a metro area, our streets do not have sidewalks, just the street and a dirt area between the road and our fence. This area between actually belongs to the city, but as is usual, the property owners are required to maintain it. Last summer, I had just decided to give it a small makeover and had pulled up the bricks that had been framing the plant area and stacked them against the fence, all while I decided exactly what I wanted to do with them. Well, one evening during this time, my family and I were sitting around our fire table out on the front patio, enjoying a nice evening. My sons and their significant others had driven over to visit us, and one had parked on the side of the road in front of our fence. We were all sitting around chatting and having a nice time, and I was facing the upslope and happened to notice the shape of someone walking by, but between the car and our fence. Now, that's not a big deal. I had just dug up the plants that had been there, but it was a little weird because this is a little tight, and there was more room on the street side. I didn't think too much about it until I saw someone do it again. Now, it's not a busy street, so there really was no need to go that way. I thought something was off because they had to deliberately make the choice to take a narrow path instead of taking the easier one. So I decided to see exactly what was going on. I walked up the stairs and looked at the area between the car and the fence, and I was stunned to see almost all the bricks were gone. I looked down the street, and there is the young 20-something-year-old boy riding away on a bicycle with some of the bricks in his basket. And I think to myself in that moment, what is happening right now? I yelled after him, and he stopped and looked back. I walked over to him, and I asked him what's going on. I say to him, "Hey, what are you doing with my bricks?" This guy says, "They were just sitting there, so I thought I would take them." Now, keep in mind, he had to park his bike and walk between the car and the fence just to reach them, and 6 people were sitting 20 feet away with 3 of them facing him. I say to him, "Those bricks belong to me. Why would you think you could just take them? That's stealing." The entitled jerk said to me, "I'm not stealing. They were on land owned by the city, and so they must be free to anybody." I said to him, "No, that's not how it works. It may be the city land, but I'm required to maintain it. And even if they were the city's, you would still be stealing the bricks from them." The guy looked at me and said, "Well, I was told differently, so I just decided I could have them." I looked at him and I said, "Stop trying to justify stealing. I need you to take those bricks on the bike back to where you got them, and then go get the other ones that you stole right now." This conversation was repeated many times as he kept defending his actions, and it took over 10 minutes to convince him that he had to return the bricks. He seemed so confused, looking at me with big sad eyes, like they were just sitting there in front of my house, so of course they're not mine, and that somehow gives him the right to take it. He looked as if he was hurt, as if he was asking why I was accusing him of stealing. For a minute, I felt like I kicked a puppy, but then I snapped out of it and I explained again to him exactly how the land use works, how it's wrong to take anything that doesn't belong to him, and once again, demanded that he return all of my bricks. I watched him take off his bike, then ride down the block and gather the rest. He brought them in one load at a time and restacked them in front of the fence. Now, I was steaming. I've never in all my life come across a person so ignorant in how the world works, and I gathered from what his roommates told him that there are more of them out there that think this way. And by the way, it turns out they are college students renting a house, and I honestly feel very sorry for their landlords and their teachers. Yeah, that's a really dumb excuse by that college kid, because he literally stole someone's property and just said, "What do you mean? It was on city property. That means I can have it for free, right?" Like, what in the world was he thinking? That is such an awful precedent to set. Now, someone might be like, "Oh, come on, they're just bricks. Is it that big of a deal?" But like, in my opinion, yes, it absolutely is. That's someone's personal property. It doesn't matter if it's bricks. You can't just take something that isn't yours. So good for you for catching this thief in the act, as well as putting him in his place, because I'm pretty sure if you turned a blind eye to it, I'm sure that this guy would have stolen more of your property. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. An entitled Karen freaks out in my shop, claiming that her lip gloss was expired that she bought at my store, and that she was now demanding a full refund, as well as some new free lip gloss of her choice. But instead of giving in to her weird demands, I decided to stand up for myself and my shop by not only denying her service, but also choosing to ban her altogether. And I've honestly never felt better about my decision in my life. Here's what happened. This story also came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Okay, so for a bit of background, I started up my own company at the age of 17 with the help of my mom. I've been thriving for 4 years and have upgraded to a better shop. I do get some unhappy shoppers, but we always sort it out in the end. Now, fast forward when I was 21 years old, and this Karen, probably in her mid-30s, got into a fight because her lip gloss was expired. Now, I still don't get it, and this happened a year ago. I had seen this Karen multiple times in my shop, and she'd always put up some kind of fight to get discounts. Whether she would claim to know the owner, even though I am the owner, or she would be like, "These are overpriced, I shouldn't have to pay that." In the end, though, she would always end up paying the right amount, and we'd move on with our days. But this certain day, she was very unhappy. She came in with one of the newest lip glosses that I had made and put out, and it was on sale for a discount of 20% and only 20%. I had put it out a week before she came in screaming her head off at me, disrupting the other happy customers that were shopping in peace. The lip gloss was Christmas themed and had little sparkles in it and a red accent to it, just to enhance the lip color when someone applied it. She came up to the front desk where I was ringing someone up and started screaming at me to get a refund because her lip gloss was expired. She started shouting, morning. My lip gloss is expired. I expect a full refund and a new free lip gloss of my choice. Now, knowing that sometimes this Karen can go bonkers, I calmly asked her what the problem was, and she answered by saying, my lip gloss is chunky. It's obviously expired. Now, I told her that lip gloss can last up to about 5 months to a little over a year, and that it was most likely the little sparkle flecks that had been added to it. And you know what she says to me in return? She said, and I quote, well, I've had this lip gloss for 9 months, so I guess it expired. I responded to her and I said, ma'am, that lip gloss has been out for a little over a year. And I tried to say this calmly, knowing that I'd tell my mother all of this at the end of the day. I mean, it's crazy what people will do just to get a free product. She looked at me, obviously not knowing what to say, because how do you come back from getting called out? So she turns around, walked out, and dragged her toddler with her. She obviously left with a racket, calling me names and calling my shop names, and then just stomping away. So I called after her. I said to her, you're banned. Never come back here ever again. Now, she obviously heard me because she stopped a little over a second, and thankfully, my shop has been Karen-free ever since. Yeah, what in the world is wrong with people? Like, this Karen literally came in there just to try and lie and get free products. That is all that happened here, and that is so annoying. And I bet you it wasn't even like expired in any kind of way. I bet it's one of those situations where she was running out, so she thought to herself, okay, I could probably get a free one if I complain a little bit. And I don't know about you who's listening, but personally, I can't stand people who act this way. Like, this really is such a cheap item altogether, and I really can't understand why anybody would freak out over something literally so small. It really makes me believe that some people actually do this on purpose just to try and like catch a deal or something like that. Like, they go into these stores and they make this big fuss. Also, they can try and like pressure the person behind the counter so that they'll give in and they'll get free stuff. I haven't seen this in action like too many times in my life, but the times that I have seen it, it is horrendous. The person on the other end of the counter looks absolutely stressed out of their mind, and it's just not a fun time for anybody who has to watch it or any managers that have to come up and try to resolve it. But thankfully, the owner of the shop was there and they could actually ban the Karen on the spot. And I'd like to imagine that that was really satisfying to do, especially after all the problems that this Karen caused in their shop. Am I the jerk for refusing to help my parents out for the last few months of me living at home? Because right now they are furious that I'm refusing to step up. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, my parents have 3 kids. There's me, a 17-year-old male, my sister who's 15, and my other sister who's 12. My 12-year-old sister has been really sick ever since she was born. She has a really bad immune system, ongoing health problems. That means getting common illnesses are bad for her and sends her to the hospital, and my parents have been fighting hard to keep her healthy and safe and out of the hospital. This has meant that my sister has been the kid my parents focus on more, and this also means that she gets all their patience and understanding. For the sake of the story, we'll call my 15-year-old sister Lily and my 12-year-old sister who gets sick a lot as Sarah. Lily and Sarah are not their real names. Now, my parents take a lot out on Lily and me, meaning that we cannot need or take their attention because then they're the worst. For example, Lily fell when she was 8 years old and she was bleeding a lot. She ran crying to mom because she was upset and sore, and my mom got so mad at her and asked her if she couldn't see that she was dealing with Sarah. Mom scolded her super hard and claimed she wasn't a baby and had no reason to cry over it or run to her about it. Another instance is when Lily was forgotten at school when she was 7 years old and she was crying in the car on the way home. My dad scolded her for acting up, and he told her that she was big enough to understand accidents can happen, and she cried to me when she got home. Lily was also at one point having some trouble at school, and the principal called our parents and requested a meeting. They were really temperamental with her, and for days they would ask her some hard questions. They would say, "Don't you see us struggling enough? Why can't you deal with it yourself?" Mind you, Lily was 10 years old. Now, I struggle with math. I always have and I always will. A few years ago, I was sick for 2 weeks, and then my parents kept me home for another 2 so that I wouldn't bring anything else home to Sarah. Now, I needed a lot of help to catch up with my math, and my teacher needed my parents' signature just to keep me for extended help after school. My parents said they would sign it, but forgot and got mad when I reminded them. Then my teacher called and asked for them to have it in the next day. Well, my parents told me that I was so selfish with their time, and they were so bad-tempered with me. I also, at one point, broke my arm when I was younger, and my parents were called to the hospital. My mom showed up and yelled at me that I should be ashamed of myself for taking her attention away from Sarah, who needed her. There are some specific examples as well. We have to take a lot of steps just to keep Sarah away from sicknesses that we might pick up. We do our best to not make her sick, and I never minded because I totally got it. But I do hate how my parents treated me and Lily. Now, my parents are struggling. My dad lost his job and makes less, and both my parents are very stressed out. They asked me to take some of the weight off their shoulders and try to help them. They wanted me to give them time off and give some money from my part-time job into the household. But I refused. I'll be moving out as soon as I turn 18 because that is exactly what I've been saving for. And my parents don't deserve my help when they resent me for ever needing it as their kid. They have not been good parents to me in years, but they were before. Well, my parents got so mad and told me that I'm so unfair to them. So honestly, am I the jerk for not wanting to help them out? What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk at all, and I'm really glad to see that you're placing the blame on your parents and not your sick sister. It seems like you can see the distinction because it doesn't seem like Sarah would want you or Lily to get treated this way at all. And by the way, the fact that your parents would be so antagonistic towards you and your other sister simply because you have some kind of needs that need to be fulfilled, that in my opinion is so toxic. It doesn't mean that you don't have a sister that gets really sick all the time, but it does mean that they should have been better parents growing up. So to that end, I don't blame you for moving out. I would get out of that house as well if I was in your shoes, because based on the way they're acting, this behavior, in my opinion, will probably just continue. And you do not deserve that in the slightest. Am I the jerk for yelling at my brother's girlfriend? All because I feel like she's trying to get rid of me. Because right now, they've been conspiring to ship me off back to my mother in Korea, who has blatantly expressed in action that she does not care about me. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I think my brother's girlfriend, who we will call Jane, is trying to get rid of me. Jane is not her real name. I live with my brother because after my parents divorced, none of them wanted me, so my brother took me in. We lived together alone until about a year ago when he got a girlfriend. She doesn't live with us, but she is at our apartment a lot. I don't really like her, but I already know he kind of has some resentment towards me because he had to take care of me even when my parents were still together, and he couldn't have a life because he was always busy with me. I think they want to get married, and I'm scared about where I will go. For reference, I'm a 15-year-old female. My mom doesn't live in the country. She went back to Korea after the divorce, and my dad is busy with his new family. Anyways, after school, I wanted to use my brother's phone to watch something. I saw a notification come up at the top, and it was from my mom. I was really curious because I don't talk to my mom like ever, and I didn't think that he did either. Long story short, he wants to send me to live with my mom in Korea because Jane wants to move in and start a family. She said that when they start their family, they don't want to be looking after a teenager as well. Now, I didn't tell him anything, and I just put the phone back. I went to sleep really scared, and now, today, I went to my cousin's house, and I told him what my brother was planning to do, and he told his mom. Now, for some background and a reference, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm always nice to her, and I just don't know why she doesn't like me. I really don't want to move. I mean, I have friends here and everything. I thought he loved me and wouldn't want to make me go back to her. My cousin's mom ended up asking him why he was going to send me to live with my mom, and he asked her how she knew that. She said that I told my cousin and he told her. Well, my brother took me back home because he didn't want to cause a scene at my aunt's house. When he got back, he asked me how I knew, and I told him I saw his text message with our mom about how he was sending me away. I was really mad and I just started yelling at him. He just tried to hug me and sat down on the couch with his head down, not talking. Then, like 10 minutes later, Jane comes in. When she came into the living room, she asked what happened, and my brother said that she knows. Then, Jane tried to talk to me, and I stood up and started yelling that I don't know why she has a problem with me, but I'm his sister, so I'm not leaving. I also called her some names because I was really angry. Then, to my surprise, my brother pushed my shoulder and told me to go to my room. I asked why, and he yelled at me to go to my room again. At this point, Jane was crying. I went to my room and I cried as well. I still think he's going to send me away, and I don't know why she doesn't like me because I didn't do anything to her. So am I the jerk for yelling at my brother's girlfriend? I told my friends about this and they said I shouldn't have yelled because she probably has her reasons to want me to be with my mother. What should I do? No, I don't think you're the jerk. I think your friends have no idea what they're talking about, and honestly, if I was in your shoes, I would not care about Jane's reasons for me wanting to go back to my mom in the slightest. Your mom and dad gave up on you. They are not good parents, and they're just gonna treat you the same way if you move back in with either of them. Like, they made it very clear that they don't want to take care of you, so your brother had to step up because they're awful parents. And now he wants to send you back to those people who literally don't care about you. Like, if I was in your shoes, I would be furious as well, because it really does seem like Jane is trying to work against you, and she's trying to get rid of you despite the fact that you're doing everything right. You're not mean to her, you're not rude, and it sounds like you're not causing problems
problems like around the house or at home or anything like that, so for them to conspire against you is so uncalled for. I can't imagine being 15 years old and feeling like everybody's trying to abandon me off to somebody else. And sure, your brother was forced to take you in and basically become a parent, and that's not okay, but for them to try and ship you off back to parents who don't care about you, in my opinion, is so unbelievably toxic. Now, when it comes to you moving back with your mom, honestly, I don't think there's anything you can really do about that. Like, if your brother wants to ship you off back to Korea with your mom who clearly is awful, then unfortunately that's kind of what's gonna happen. But in my opinion, regardless of the fact that they want to have their own space as a couple, I think that it's awful that they would ship you off back to someone who doesn't care about you. Because I know if I was in your shoes, I would feel completely betrayed by someone I thought I could trust. Am I the jerk for wanting to attend my mom's funeral instead of going to my wife's family dinner that just so happens to be on the same day? Because right now, my wife is pressuring me to go to the dinner instead of my mom's funeral. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 35-year-old male, and I'm currently in a really tough spot, and I need some unbiased perspectives on whether I'm in the wrong here. My mother passed away after being ill, and her funeral is scheduled for the same day as a big dinner hosted by my wife's family. Now, I understand the importance of family gatherings, especially to my wife and her family. However, my mom's funeral is something I simply cannot miss. She was my rock and my best friend. Her sudden passing has left me devastated, and I feel like I owe it to her to be there to bid her a proper farewell. Now, the dilemma arose when my wife learned about the funeral arrangements conflicting with her family dinner. She immediately insisted that I skip the funeral and attend the dinner instead. Now, what was her reasoning, you might be asking? She argues that her family has always been there for us, and it's crucial that we show our support by attending their events. Now, fair enough, but it's not like I'm ditching the dinner for something trivial. Now, here's the part where it really gets messy. My wife and her sister, who's particularly vocal about this, have been calling me a mama's boy and accusing me of putting my family before hers. They've been pressuring me to prioritize the family dinner over my mom's funeral, saying things like, "Your mom would want you to support us, and you just need to grow up and put us first." Now, the thing is that my mom adored my wife. They got along really well, and my mom always considered her as her own daughter, and my mom put her in the will. So it's not like attending the funeral would be disrespectful to my wife or her family. It's just a matter of honoring my mom's memory and saying my final goodbyes. So would I be the jerk for wanting to attend my mom's funeral? Because right now, I'm seriously at such a crossroads, and I really don't know what to do. Wow, this story really upset me. Like, seriously, this is insane. First of all, of course you're not the jerk for going to your mother's funeral. Any sane individual would be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for your loss. Of course, please go to your funeral. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know," or anything like that. Any normal person would say something along those lines to be like, "I'm here for you, I love you, and I'm gonna support you." So when I read this story and I see the wife is like, "Oh my gosh, you need to put us first. You need to stop being such a mama's boy." Like, I actually felt my blood boil when I read that, because I can't imagine being with someone who's gonna act like that. You attending your mom's funeral is not you being a mama's boy. This is you trying to honor and mourn the loss of your mother. And it sounds like the original poster was very close with his mom, which is not a bad thing, by the way. Like, the fact that your wife and her family are acting like this is such an inconvenience for them is seriously insane to me. Like, what planet are we on right now? Your husband just lost his mom. How can you seriously be obsessed with this family dinner instead of standing by your husband and being there for him in his time of need? Like, this stupid dinner can wait. Like, I can't believe she's taking that side. Like, your wife's opinion, and it is just an opinion, by the way, is completely appalling. And I just can't believe that she's trying to put this kind of pressure on you, especially considering the loss that you just went through. So no, of course you are not the jerk. Your wife and her family are completely out of their mind if they think this is somehow appropriate, because you have every right to go to your mom's funeral and try to find some solace in this loss in your life. And anyone who tries to get in the way of that, in my opinion, has no business trying to be involved in your life. My parents have removed me from their will and their inheritance due to the fact that I love to travel, claiming that I'm only putting the family at risk by going overseas, and that all of their health problems are because I go out of the country. And now, after I introduced them to my long-distance girlfriend from South America, they've gone no contact with me and are now refusing to go to my future wedding. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I'm in a long-distance relationship with my girlfriend. It's all going really well, and she is a lovely person. And this will be important for background information later on. Now, my parents have always been extremely anti-travel and have never really traveled except for social obligations
occasions, such as a funeral or a wedding. But when it comes to me, I love traveling. It is the main passion or hobby in my life, and I have been to multiple countries, mostly in Latin America, but I've also been to Europe as well. Every time I have traveled internationally, we go through a whole song and dance of my parents barraging me with conspiracy theories, as well as passive-aggressive behavior, threats, and a lot more. They believe with every fiber of their being that US citizens are immediately taken and disappeared the moment they step off a plane. And they even think this about Americans visiting Canada or the United Kingdom. They believe that the fact that I travel will lead to someone hacking their bank accounts and steal their sizable savings, which is numbered in the millions of US dollars. They also blame their health issues on my travels. Any and all attempts of mine to show them that their views are wrong are just flatly ignored. When I traveled to Europe, they reacted by refusing to communicate with me for 3 months. When I traveled to Latin America previously, they did the same thing, but they also called the police to send a police officer to my house to convince me to not go on vacation. After my trip, they sent me long emails about how the fact that I traveled had caused them to have health problems and that it's my fault for being a bad son. I tried my best to ignore these behaviors and keep the peace, but also, I just tried to remember that they would leave an inheritance for me with a life-changing sum of money whenever they pass away. So I simply continue to travel and not tell them about my plans. My most recent trip was to meet my long-distance girlfriend's family in South America. I had no plans to tell my parents, but she insisted on being presented to my family via FaceTime. The FaceTime call had the reaction that I expected. My dad was cool, but my mother was rude and offensive and said mean things about my girlfriend's family due to their nationality. My family went no contact for a number of weeks and hit me up to inform me that they have removed me from their will, that I am no longer welcome to visit them, and that they will not attend my wedding if I get married in the future. They said they will donate the inheritance to political causes they support instead. Now, my girlfriend is adamant that I do something to restore the relationship with my parents. However, I have no idea how to accomplish that considering my family's hardline stance, and the fact that I, as a 33-year-old man, refuse to be bullied by my family to abandon my passion in life. Now, as some side notes, I'm financially well off and I am a homeowner, to the point that I don't have to worry about bills or groceries or anything like that, and I'm able to save a comfortable amount of money each month. However, the inheritance money would be life-changing because it's enough that I could retire immediately whenever the time comes. Also, it's very important to know that my girlfriend does not know about the inheritance and is unaware of my parents' financial status, as we have not talked about that at all. So I honestly feel so stuck and I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, your parents sound incredibly unhinged, and if I'm being completely honest, they kind of sound super racist. I'm not trying to be mean and I'm not trying to make some weird judgment call against them, but based on the way they're talking about people outside the United States, as well as people of different nationalities, it really seems like they consider anybody who's not from America as some kind of like problem or a health risk. And that, in my opinion, is so disgusting and uncalled for. But more to the point, it really seems like they're trying to control every aspect of your life. And they're doing it in these like weird passive-aggressive ways where they're trying to find some way to get you to stop traveling. It's almost like they're going to use the inheritance money and try and like use it against you in some kind of way. Some kind of weird bartering chip just so you can stay in America. But in reality, there's nothing wrong with traveling. Like, that's a good and healthy thing to do. So for them to act like this and treat you like garbage is just so uncalled for, because you do not deserve this kind of treatment. So I know if I was in your shoes, I would just be like, okay, fine, I guess I'm not going to get any kind of inheritance. I'm going to plan my life, and if I'm getting nothing, then I'm getting nothing, because these people do not control your life. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. An idiotic group of customers refused to tell me that they have food allergies that I need to be aware of, choosing instead to wait until the last possible second just to ask for some kind of alternative. And I've honestly never been more annoyed by a group of customers in my life. Here's what happened. So at the restaurant I work at, I had a party of about 30 people yesterday. Now, this was all standard stuff. It wasn't anything crazy. They chose a dinner package, which has about 6 entree options, comes with a choice of 2 salads, either Caesar or the house Italian, and pistachio ice cream. Since there are 30 people, I wait for everyone to sit down and then I get their attention. I go through my 30-second speech. I tell them my name, I tell them about our salad, and that our ice cream has tree nuts in it. So if you have an allergy to nuts or anything else, please let me know. Now, everybody in the party was watching and listening. There was nobody whispering to each other, no one was on their phone. They all honestly honestly seemed engaged. Well, one girl, about 14, raised her hand and said that she's allergic to nuts. So I said, no problem. We have a nut-free ice cream package separately. I go around and I take their orders, and I start bringing out drinks and salads. One lady gets halfway through her Italian salad, and then she asks me if it has mayo in it. I say yes, and then I ask her why she's asking that, and she says to me that she's allergic to mayonnaise, and then she asks for something else. So I get her a balsamic salad, which is not part of the package that they ordered, but obviously I will make an exception due to allergies. I just wish that she told me when I asked about the allergies in the first place, but I thought to myself, whatever. I drop off the balsamic, and 4 other women at the table start asking for balsamic as well, even though they are mostly done with the salads they already have. I say to them, no, I'm sorry, the Italian comes with a package that you pre-ordered. They then look at me and say, but she was allowed to get balsamic, why can't I? So I respond by saying she's allergic to mayonnaise. They are the typical needy party, but we eventually get through it. I start dropping off ice cream and get the nut-free one out first, then drop off to all the kids, and then I start with the adults. I lay the pistachio down in front of a 30-year-old man, and he asked for vanilla instead. I said to him, sorry, pistachio comes with the package, and I've already pre-scooped all of the ice cream, which is something that I do myself. He then looks at me and says, oh, but I'm allergic to pistachios. And trust me, the look I gave this man was very telling. If a server asks you if you have any allergies, just tell them. It's really simple. Now, obviously, they could have both been lying about their allergies, but I have no way of knowing that, and I have to take their claims very seriously. But if you know you're just being a picky jerk, then lie about your allergies earlier, please. That way, I don't have to double back and redo things that I've already done to accommodate you. And overall, I honestly can't believe that out of all of these people, the only one smart enough to tell me about her allergy is the teenager. That has seriously got to be super annoying to deal with. I can't imagine being a server and being like, okay, if you've got allergies, let me know. And then you serve them their food and they're like, wait a second, I'm allergic to mayonnaise. And it's like, hey, did you remember that conversation I had like 20 minutes ago? Why are you waiting until you're halfway done with your salad before you tell me something like this? Like, I don't know about you, but if I had a health allergy that could like threaten my life, and I'm like, hey, if I eat mayonnaise or tree nuts or whatever, I will definitely pass away on your floor. If I had that information in my head, I'd be saying it immediately. And for the record, I think that last guy was lying. I do not think that he was allergic to pistachios at all. I think he just wanted some different ice cream because he didn't like the flavor of the pistachio one. But regardless, this sounded like a really annoying thing to deal with, and I think the original poster handled it very well. Am I the jerk for telling my stepmom to not come to my graduation, all because she simply said she can't be in the same room as my mom? Because right now, I am so sick of their stupid dispute, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So for a bit of background, my parents divorced when I was 3 years old because my dad was having an affair with my stepmom. My mom and stepmom were work rivals and had a strong dislike for each other, even before the affair. There has always been speculation that this is why my stepmom willingly became the other woman, because she disliked my mom so much. Now, I was aware of this, and not because of my parents, but because of drama that would kick off with my dad's side of the family, and I was present for some of my dad's relatives' speculations about this. Now, my parents did not get along after the affair, and tensions were high whenever my mom and stepmom were in the same room. My stepmom had 3 pregnancies that ended in miscarriage. The first 2 were, I guess, typical normal miscarriages, but the third one caused my stepmom a lot of medical issues, and that led to her never being able to have kids ever again. So she and my dad never got to have a living child together. After the 3rd miscarriage, my stepmom wanted me around because she wanted to feel like a parent, and she wanted to know that she would still have me. She and my dad asked my mom if they could extend their time with me, and my mom laughed in her face and told her that she didn't care what she had been through, and she would not let me be used as a band-aid. My stepmom argued that she deserved compassion for what she was going through, and it would be good for me to get that little extra attention and love since I wasn't going to have any siblings ever. Well, my mom told her that she would never have compassion for her and didn't feel sorry for her at all. She told her she didn't deserve to be a mom after taking part in the end of my stability within my family. She did blame my dad as well, but that has never been focused on as much by my dad and stepmom or his family. After that, my mom and stepmom were never in the same place together. They had third parties take care of exchanges of me until I was old enough to hop out of a car and into the home I was returning to. Once they realized I knew details of what happened, my dad and stepmom were vocal about mom being cruel and hurtful to my stepmom, and that was why they weren't ever in the same room together. A few times I even picked up on their desire for me to hate my mom for them, but I just don't do that. I try to stay neutral, which my mom encourages. But if I have to pick in this situation, I am team mom all the way. I'm graduating from high school in a couple of months, and my dad and stepmother brought up that my stepmom doesn't feel like she should be around my mom and does not want to be there with my mom. They then told me that they feel it would be best if I make it clear to my mom that she can't be there, but I told them that my mom will be there. Then my stepmom told me that she can't be in the same room as her after what she did to her. So I said to her, okay, then just don't come. I told her I wasn't going to beg her to be there and that I wanted my mom there and they weren't going to stop me. They asked me how I could say that knowing how mom treated my stepmother, and they asked me to be more compassionate. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Wow, your stepmom and dad will literally do anything to justify their affair. They'll play the victim, they'll play the assailant, they will literally gaslight you and guilt trip you, they'll try to turn you against your mom. Like seriously, these people sound awful. For starters, it's insane to me that the stepmom is trying to act like the victim, as if they've been offended by what your mom has said to her. But in reality, she's just looking for something, anything to try and be like, oh yeah, this is it. This is why I hate your mom. She offended me. Oh my God. And that's like seriously insane to me. And even now, at the apex of your high school career, right when you're about to graduate, your dad and stepmom look at you and actually say, oh, you should just make sure your mom's not there. You need to make it clear that she can't be there. And it's like, what are these people doing? Do they really think that this strategy is going to somehow make them come out on top? Because right now it's only making them look like fools. So honestly, I'm so sorry you have to deal with this, but I am right there with you. I am team mom 100% of the way, because your dad and stepmom are absolutely out of line here. And the fact that they want to ban your mom from your graduation, in my opinion, is completely uncalled for. Am I the jerk for canceling my gender reveal party for my baby after my husband tells everybody about my baby's gender? Because right now I'm very upset, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. My husband and I had planned to do a very small gender reveal on Easter for my husband's family, and since this is our last child, and we missed out on doing all the fun stuff like a gender reveal for our other child due to COVID restrictions, I just wanted to get this experience once. Well, my husband's brother has been bothering my husband for weeks as he wants to be told the gender since we have known about it for 2 months now. Now, my husband consistently kept telling him no, and that he needed to wait for the gender reveal just like everybody else. Well, last night, my husband finally had enough of his brother and just gave in and texted him the gender. Now, I was not asked if this was okay, and he just did this on his own. This is also not the first time my brother-in-law has made everything about what he wanted and not what we wanted. He also had told the family that we were pregnant without our permission, all before we had announced to everybody too, by the way, because he felt that he could, and we never told him not to tell anybody. And this is along with many other things over the years. So honestly, most things with him are a sensitive topic for me. Well, when I found out that he was told, and that he told his wife, I told my husband I had no interest in doing the gender reveal any longer. My husband had also already slipped to his mom by using the gender-related pronouns when talking to the baby, so she already knows the gender, which means her husband does too. There were only going to be 6 people at the gender reveal, and now that 4 out of the 6 already know the gender, I said that it's not worth all my time, effort, and money to buy everything and set it up to only surprise 2 people. It's just not worth it in my eyes. Well, I'm now being told that I'm just ridiculous, that I'm a jerk, I'm being overly emotional, and that I need to see a therapist for my mental instability, for being angry that my brother-in-law got his way again, and that I don't even want a gender reveal any longer. I honestly feel like my brother-in-law yet again took away my chance of getting a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and he's done similar things like this in the past. So am I the jerk for not wanting to have this gender reveal any longer? What should I do? Okay, first and foremost, I don't think you're the jerk for canceling the party altogether, but I do think you're misplacing the blame. Yes, it sounds like your brother-in-law is incredibly obnoxious and it's really good not to tell him anything, but this doesn't seem like a brother-in-law problem. If anything, it seems like a husband problem. Like your husband simply can't keep any secrets, it seems like. He literally told 4 of the 6 people what's going on and what the gender of the baby is. And honestly, I'm right there with you. If 4 out of the 6 people already know the gender of the baby, then there is no point in having a gender reveal at all. I would cancel it as well. Like that seriously is so stupid. And the fact that your husband would call you mentally unstable, all because you're disappointed in his actions, in my opinion is so toxic. Like you're not mentally unstable, but instead your husband's an idiot for not keeping a better lid on the baby's gender. Like seriously, this all comes back to him spilling the beans, not on you. Because in my opinion, I think you're the only one being rational in this scenario. And it's also really sad that your husband's not like standing up for you and not like standing by your side or even understanding where you're coming from in the first place. So no, you are definitely not the jerk, and I think the way your husband and your family is reacting is completely uncalled for. Am I the jerk for having conflict with my husband about how he wants to resolve going to not only my friend's wedding, but also going to a concert with all of his friends? Because right now, the way we have things set up really does not sit well with me, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. My husband told me his close friends that live a few hours away want to come to our city for a 4-day music festival and stay with us. And I say, great, I love them. And he doesn't get to hang out with them very much. We haven't seen them since November, and we see them maybe 4 to 5 times a year. Then he tells me the date is over the May weekend of my friend's wedding. Now, for some background, this is not just any friend. She was maid of honor at our wedding. He's known her for the 7 years since we've been together. She was a huge help at our wedding, and her fiance even helped us with cleanup. I'm in her wedding now about 3 hours away, and I'll be gone from Thursday until Sunday. While he likes my friend, he doesn't want to miss the time with his friends. I suggested he go Thursday and Friday to the concert, and then drive up for the wedding Saturday and Sunday, and his friends can stay at our house. But he doesn't want to do that. For starters, he says he wants as much time with his friends as possible since he doesn't see them that much, but also the concert is expensive, and he would have to buy one ticket that covers all the days. If I really want him to be there, his suggestion was to drive the 3 hours to the wedding on Saturday, stay for the ceremony and reception, but not drink at all, and then leave immediately afterwards, and drive the 3 hours back. Now, I did get mad at that point and said that didn't work for me because I don't want him to go only to be in a rush to leave. I want to relax and enjoy my friend's special day with my husband. We can relax and have a couple of drinks without worry. I even have a hotel room, and there is a shuttle bus back, so I was looking forward to not having to worry about finding a ride. Well, he doesn't see the big deal. I said I don't want him to attend just out of obligation, and neither with a bride and groom. They're paying a lot for the guests to be there, and I said that even if he left Sunday morning, I could get on board with that even though it's still not ideal for me. Well, he got mad and said that he doesn't get to see his friends that much, and he feels isolated. For reference, we moved from my work about 6 months ago to live in a city that we don't know many people. I said that we should look for ways to help that, but that this shouldn't change anything about these plans. I feel isolated too, but I wouldn't dream of missing his best friend's wedding if things were reversed. He did come back an hour later and say he was sorry that he hurt my feelings, and he recognizes that it's important for me and of course my best friend, and he wanted to find a way to meet both of our needs. So honestly, am I the jerk for not wanting him to drive home that night? What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk for not wanting him to drive home, but I really have to disagree with all of your logic here. With his original plan, he would be there for the ceremony, and sure, he could probably stay a little bit longer, like at the reception or something like that. I think that might be some wiggle room to like have some kind of compromise, but it seems like you're getting really weird about the fact that he's driving back home. Like, we're talking about friends he hasn't seen in a long time. He moved to a new city, so he obviously feels homesick, and he misses these people in his life. So it would make sense that he would want to go see them. So in my opinion, I don't think there's anything wrong with him going to the concert, as well as fulfilling this obligation to come to the wedding. And honestly, I've got to say, I think the bride and groom will be completely fine with him showing up. They're not going to look at him and be like, wow, he doesn't want to be here. He's only here because he's obligated to be there. They're probably going to be like, oh wow, he showed up. That's awesome. We're so glad he's here. This guy's willing to drive 3 hours just to go to this wedding and participate in a ceremony that's obviously important to you and your friend. If he didn't want to be there, he wouldn't show up. He would stay at the concert with his friends and be like, nope, I'm definitely not going. But he's willing to drive there. Like, that, in my opinion, doesn't sound like someone who doesn't want to be at the wedding. And it doesn't sound like they're only there out of obligation. I'm sure he's going to be pleasant and like agreeable just like anybody else. So I don't think that that accusation is correct at all in my opinion. And I think his willingness to be there shows a lot more than what you're assuming he's actually feeling. So in my opinion, I don't think you're the jerk for being worried about this, but I think the blame is being misplaced in a major way. Because it really seems like he's making a serious effort to be there at the wedding itself. And I think that deserves a lot more consideration, especially with the way that you're framing it. My fiance no longer wants to get married to me until I can prove my faith once and for all is 100% genuine. And even though he gave me the ultimatum that he wouldn't marry me unless I joined his church, he is now saying that that is simply not enough, and that if I'm not a believer of everything he believes in, then our future marriage is not going to work out. Here's what happened. I'm a 34-year-old female, and my fiance is 32 years old. We started dating in early 2023 and quickly realized that we wanted a future with each other. In January of 2024, he proposed to me and I said yes because I love him just as he is and I would not change anything about him. We set a date for July of 2024. Well, with that being said, in February, he was acting very distant, which is something he has done in the past, so I knew that something was wrong. He said that it was a problem that I did not belong to his church and that it would eventually cause confusion for his daughter if I went to my church. Now, I was already questioning if my church was the right one, but I wanted to be sure before I converted to his. Unfortunately, he gave me an ultimatum. If you don't join my church, I cannot marry you. Now, that did cause me to question what it was that was keeping me from joining, and I ultimately decided that this was going to be the right decision for me and our family, especially now that we would have the same faith and help his daughter grow her own faith of her own. He started to get excited about the wedding, and he went to sign a contract for our reception. Now, no money was put down, but it was just a signature. I had my bridesmaids buy their dresses, I purchased a photographer and scheduled our engagement session, and I bought a wedding dress and I sent it for alterations. Then, 3 days ago on March 15th, he said that he believes I'm only converting for him, and that if he didn't give me the ultimatum, I wouldn't have converted, that he does not see that I have the passion to learn more about the faith, and that I'm only doing this because I want to get married so badly. He believes that if we get married, that I will change my mind and go back to my old church and try to take our future children away from our church that we go to now. Basically, he wants to postpone the wedding until he can get over the anxiety and the gut feeling he has about my faith. He believes if I start inquiring more about the faith, that this will help him not be nervous about marrying me. Also, he still does not know if he wants children with me, but that is a separate issue altogether. I'm at the point where I just don't know if I should continue in this relationship with the constant sick feeling in my stomach and feeling like I'll never be good enough. I am already divorced, and it was my ex that lost interest and felt that I was not good enough to be his wife. My faith has always been the quality that I love the most about myself, and to think that someone does not find it genuine or that I would use it to tear my family apart is devastating. So I'm honestly feeling so stuck and I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, but in my opinion, this does not sound like a healthy relationship. Like, for starters, this guy gave you an ultimatum. He basically said you either join my church or I'm not gonna get married. So you go through the work and you join his faith. And just when you think everything's good, he suddenly turns around and changes the goalpost. And now he's trying to say, ooh, you gotta prove your faith because right now I don't believe you. Like, what is going on right now? This is so weird to me. Like, you already joined his church. Like, what else are you supposed to do to prove, like, yeah, I'm on board. Like, let's just get this going. So I can kind of understand why you're feeling hesitant about moving forward. Like, if I'm being completely honest, this guy kind of sounds like a basket case. And he's also in a roundabout way accusing you of ruining the marriage in the future. Like, he just made up this idea in his head that you're gonna somehow leave the church and drag your kids along with it and ruin everything. But it's like you've never done anything like that in the past to even indicate that. So it leaves you standing there thinking, like, what in the world is going on? What are you talking about, buddy? Because I'm willing to bet and put money on the fact that you have no desire to ruin your future marriage. And I'm sure you're not gonna drag your hypothetical future kids away, all in some kind of like long game plot just to like take your kids away from your husband's church. Like, this really sounds insane. Like, I'm not even kidding. So hopefully this all works out for you and you specifically, because from the sounds of it, your future husband sounds incredibly unhinged. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for leaving my sister's bridal party after she told me that my dad's girlfriend is gonna be the maid of honor? Because right now I'm very upset, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so for a bit of context, when I was a teen, my parents ended up getting a divorce. My mom got full custody because my dad said he needed time off as he couldn't take care of us when everything was still raw. When he was around, he spent most of his time with my sister rather than me as she needed him more. This was a sore spot for me growing up, especially when he made an effort for my sister but never for me. He has tried to reconcile, and while we aren't on the best of terms, I've grown to accept it. He ended up meeting Jennifer at a bar and they hit it off. Jennifer is not her real name. While I personally don't mind him moving on, Jennifer was obsessed with the idea of reconciling our relationship. The few times I've met her, she would get into arguments with me claiming that my dad only wants his daughter back and to give him a chance. Last summer, we were having dinner at my sister's flat where she and dad were discussing an upcoming family vacation. When Jennifer asked what I thought about the trip, trip. I informed her that I wasn't going. She immediately started questioning me about it. Suffice to say, it ended up in a screaming match as she was claiming I was purposefully icing her and my dad out. I told her I was a grown adult and that if she didn't like it, she had someone else following her around like a puppy. My dad got involved and I ended up choosing to leave, but not before shouting that I was my mom's lapdog. My sister ended up kicking them both out afterwards as well. I haven't spoken to either my dad or Jennifer ever since that day. With my sister's upcoming wedding, I've expected to see them there, and I've made my peace to just stay as far away as possible. But a few days ago, she told me that she had a maid of honor in mind. She claimed that Jennifer has been nothing but sweet to her, and that she felt like she was her close friend. As she was talking, she said that Jennifer was really sorry and was trying to reach out to apologize, but I cut her off. I told her if she wanted her as a maid of honor, it was her wedding and her choice. But I personally did not want to be in a position where I have to keep interacting with her over every little detail. I would still attend the wedding, but I wouldn't be a bridesmaid. Well, this made her tear up. She begged me to reconsider as she really wanted me to be a part of her big day. But I told her I will be, but just as an attendee. In the end, she said it's okay, but asked me to please reconsider. News got to my dad and Jennifer, and now my dad has sent several messages telling me that I'm acting like a child and that I'm ruining my sister's big day. So am I the jerk here? I feel like this way we can avoid any potential conflict, but I also want to be a part of her day. What should I do? No, I don't think you're the jerk at all. I think the way Jennifer tried to push you into a relationship with your dad and how overbearing they were being honestly is so unacceptable. And if they really wanted to apologize to you, they would have reached out and called you directly and apologized. Like, in my opinion, I refuse to give my time or space or energy to anybody who owes me an apology, or somebody who's gonna badmouth me behind my back, and then when it's convenient, act like we're best friends and that we're family. It's like, no, we're not. You ruined that years ago. This is not my fault that you decided to act like an idiot. And now instead of like repairing the relationship years ago, you decide to try and like flip the script and act like it's my fault? Like, what are you doing? And also, why on earth is your sister having a 57-year-old woman as your maid of honor? Like, she knows there's conflict between the two of you. She could have just turned her down and not allowed this to like ruin her big day. And it also puts the original poster in a corner that it doesn't look like they're ready to face yet. And that, in my opinion, is just not fair. So no, I don't think you're the jerk. I think everybody else here is completely misguided, and I think you have every right to back out, especially if they're gonna try and force the issue. Am I the jerk for not wanting to do the prank the bride is asking me to do during her wedding ceremony? Because honestly, I feel very uncomfortable with it. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 23-year-old male, and I'm one of the groomsmen for my best friend's wedding. His fiance is a known jokester and likes pulling pranks that doesn't affect anyone beyond making us laugh. Just stupid, funny things that she would go out of her way to do just to make us laugh. It's never anything hurtful, and the farthest she's ever gone was pretending to accidentally destroy the groom's awful laptop and then surprise him with a brand new modern Alienware, which is the very one that he'd been saving up for 2 years. She also backed up everything and only destroyed the screen, so stuff could be salvaged just in case. Now, it's honestly pretty sweet stuff. My friend is a bit more of the serious and logical type, so she balances him out a lot. He finds her antics pretty amusing too, and it's probably a driving factor in their relationship. Now, with that bit of context out of the way, here's what's going on. So neither of them really care for the ceremony aspect of a wedding. They're going to get a courthouse wedding and save the money for a nice reception with only close friends and family. There's going to be 3 witnesses, namely me, the best man, and the maid of honor. And the wedding will have at most 4 or 5 more friends and some of the groom's family. The bride was all for this, as she can get really anxious in big events like this, but she still feels like it's nothing to really write home about. So she wants to pull a pretty notable prank by having a dramatic objection or something like that during the ceremony. Since I'll be the only one there, she wants me to do the objection thing, make it seem like I'm going for her, and then as a plot twist, go for the groom. Then she wants us to do a sword fight for his hand. Now, I wish I was joking, but she and the groom actually have a sizable sword collection, and she said that she would get her maid of honor to sneak in 2 of the smaller ones. The maid of honor, who was there while the bride was talking to me, interjected and said that it was a stupid idea, and when someone finally said it, I felt immediate relief. But she said that she would get fake swords, since there could be issues in smuggling in actual weapons. Plus, she would run it by the official in charge, and whoever else that she'd have to at the courthouse, to make sure that not too much commotion was created. And when she said that, my stress went right back up. Now, I admittedly am a bit of a doormat, and I didn't outright say no at first, and I was hoping the maid of honor would say something. Then I realized I needed to pull my big boy pants on and say no, which is exactly what I did, and I was very happy about that. But unfortunately, they weren't happy at all, and not in an angry way, but in a way that made me feel immediately guilty. And as a result, I stupidly offered to think of a different joke to pull. They've since added me into a group chat where I've constantly tried to reiterate how I don't feel comfortable with pranks, but they tried to reassure me, trying to get me to reconsider in some kind of way. The maid of honor is calling me a jerk for not following the bride's wishes, as well as one of our other mutual friends who the bride talked to about this. It's now getting harder and harder to stick to my no. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Honestly, if I was in your shoes, I would stick to my original answer. First of all, playing a prank at somebody's wedding, regardless of what kind of repertoire you have between the two of you, in my opinion is not a good idea. That really is a special day, and despite the fact that they're not taking it seriously, I would much rather err on the side of caution instead of potentially messing something up for one of my friends. Also, why do you have to be the one to step in and be like, no, I'll sword fight you? Why can't the maid of honor step in and do it instead? I mean, if they're really on board with it and they don't see a problem with it, then why can't they do it? Why does it have to be you? I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I know whenever I'm in a serious situation of some kind, or in a situation where the stakes are kind of high, and this really is a moment to remember, the last thing I want to have is someone pranking me. Even if I do have some kind of special repertoire with them, where we do pranks on each other and we have a good time. Maybe that's just me, but it would have to be someone I'm incredibly close with for me to be okay with that. So no, you are definitely not the jerk for not being on board with this. And hopefully they can find someone else to play their prank. My parents give out money freely to everybody in my extended family, but when they give me money, they expect me to sign a contract and they consider this a loan. And I'm so tired of being treated this way, and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, I want to start off by saying that everyone else is gifted money, cars, services, and dental care. They pay for things for their extended families that they move away from, and all of my dad's parents and siblings have needed financial help at times, and they support his dad monthly. I've seen my mom unconditionally support my dad after he did things like max out 4 Shell station gas cards assigned to each member of our family on gas station lottery scratchers. I was the only child driving at the time, and I was accused daily of doing this. They had to pay Shell back a lot of money when the truth came out. Now, I did not get an apology, and my mom started making me give her receipts every time I used it, even though my dad was the one running up the bill. He got bailed out of becoming addicted to gas station caffeine pills. Now, I'm not saying I wish my mom hadn't helped him. I'm just saying that I saw these things, and I so thought that my parents were kind and generous people who supported relatives in need. Well, I became in need of financial support recently after a divorce, not to mention COVID and changing careers. I thought my parents would help me like I've seen them help other extended family members, but no. Instead, my parents made me sign a contract to pay them back before they would even give me desperately needed money. Well, I just paid them back the final $240 that they insisted on collecting while I am unemployed, sick, and stressed by my landlord, not fixing the snake hole nest of a property that I live on. And this is while my partner's family is bankrolling our rent so I can focus on finding a better job. I ended my marriage with $33,000 in debt because my ex had paid off all my student loans in that amount in the first year of our marriage. I had that much debt because my dad got his master's and a specialist degree also in the 4 years that I was in high school. So there was no money for me. They refused to co-sign on cheap off-campus housing because they were scared. So I was forced to take out loans for $1,200 a month plus $600 more a month required for a meal plan while living on campus. Now, to be fair, my parents have helped some. They asked me to create a spreadsheet of all my debt, and so I did exactly that. They gave me $1,200 to give my ex-boyfriend, who helped me after my divorce, and another $1,200 to pay one debt. All the while, they were charging me $400 monthly for rent to stay with them in between apartments, and I was extremely grateful for this help, and I always will be. But seriously, why am I the only relative to pay them back? I've asked this question point blank, and the responses I've been given were not encouraging. They said to me that my marriage didn't fail, and that I'm just ungrateful. They then said to me, "We only needed your help when we had children, and you didn't have children. You are just ungrateful. You're the only one that can afford to pay us back too, by the way. And this way, you won't feel guilty and like you owe relatives money." But honestly, it's hard to be grateful for loans when everyone else is getting gifts. And at this point, I feel like I'm drowning. Yeah, your parents are being very vindictive towards you because it sounds like they have a very clear double standard. They're willing to give out money to pretty much everybody that isn't you and would instead force
force you to sign some kind of contract instead of like, I don't know, trying to help out their kid. Like that doesn't make any sense to me, and it seems like there's some kind of like weird animosity towards you that you definitely don't deserve. So in the future, and I'm sure you already know this, I would never ask them for money ever again. I would prefer to go to literally anybody else on the planet instead of going to them asking for any kind of money, because this is how they're going to treat you. And in my opinion, you do not deserve that in the slightest. Am I the jerk for not going with my ex to get her surgery, all because she just recently broke up with me? Because right now she's calling me a massive jerk, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. So about 2 months back, my girlfriend, who is now my ex, put down a deposit to get a mommy makeover done in Miami, and I agreed to take a week off of work and go with her to pick her up after her surgery and just be an overall presence after all was said and done. Mind you, this procedure is purely cosmetic and not necessary, but I understand this is something that she wanted for a long time and she was really excited about it. We have a pretty on-again, off-again relationship where she will leave but I won't, but she always ends up coming back. The last time we broke up before this incident was maybe a week before we were supposed to fly out, and she broke up with me because she feels like I don't do enough and I can't provide her with the type of lifestyle that she wants, and she can always find someone who can. We break up and 2 days later end up back together again. She's broken up with me a lot over money, or feeling like I don't have enough of it, or she doesn't like the fact that I'm not buying her things or paying her bills. For example, I refused to take her out for ice cream one night 4 days before we were supposed to fly out because I wanted as much money as possible when making a trip like that, and she just completely flipped out and broke up with me again, stating she shouldn't have to lower her standards when she knows there are people in this world who are willing to give her what she wants. She asked me to pack up my stuff that's at her place and leave, so I do just that. Then the next day she calls me and tries to get me to come over, but I say no because I'm really hurt this time, and I inform her that I'm not going to Miami with her any longer. Well, she obviously freaks out because it's such a short amount of time and she won't be able to find anyone else to go with her, but she's still choosing to go out there and have the surgery done regardless. I begged her not to, but she's going through with it anyways and keeps telling me that I'm a bad person for not doing this for her, even when she asked me nicely and knows how important it is to her. So seriously, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk at all. It really sounds like your girlfriend is using you for money, and it doesn't sound like she loves you at all. Like she literally only wants you to go to Miami so you can take care of her and be there to pick her up from the surgery. And this is an elective surgery. It probably would not cost any money to be like, yeah, I'm gonna back out. Or something like that. Yeah, you still have a flight to Miami, but like go to the beach or something. Don't guilt trip your now ex-boyfriend, who you broke up with by the way, and then expect him to want anything to do with you. So honestly, I really hope this breakup is the last breakup, because you deserve so much better than this, because your ex is being very rude to you and you do not deserve that in the slightest. Am I the jerk for having loud construction work done in my house? Because right now my neighbors are angry, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I bought a modest townhouse with my wife in a quiet street near a popular area of the city. It shares walls with neighbors on both sides, and we bought it because of the great location. But the house is currently uninhabitable due to the drainage issues, the mold in the bathroom, the ceilings coming down, and the electrical problems. A full renovation is needed, and we need to demolish all the bad stuff. This means drilling through walls, floors, and the concrete foundation. We hired a construction crew to do most of the heavy lifting for us. They started demolishing 2 days ago and scheduled these works for another 5 days. The heavy machines needed for this job make a lot of noise and they produce dust. Well, our neighbors on one side recently converted their house into an Airbnb that accommodated 10 people. When we met them about a month ago, they showed us around in their house while we were discussing renovations. They rent out their house for about $600 a day and had guests over today while our construction crew was working on the demolition job. And it's right about then that the guests started complaining at our construction crew first, escalating to our neighbors, who then called my wife. Their guests have canceled the rest of their booking due to all the noise. Our neighbor's Airbnb relies on good reviews, and having loud noise is obviously not good for business. During the call with my wife, they discussed the upcoming booking schedule and request for us to keep the noise down when they have a guest staying over. But we, however, cannot keep the noise down without stopping all the work temporarily due to all the other jobs relying on their demolition work being done first. If we were to follow their schedule and stop the work during the days that they have a guest over, it would cause a 7-day delay in our plans, not even counting the weekend. Since we are renting, and our rental contract ends soon, every day that we are postponed from moving in would cost us about $100 for a hotel. On top of that, the construction
construction crew would also have about $40 a day of costs in terms of rescheduling work in other locations to accommodate this request. We basically told our neighbors that we would be willing to follow their request if they would reimburse us for the cost that comes with it, which is about $980 for the total delay. Now, we understand that our neighbors have a business and don't want to ruin their reviews, but in my opinion, doing business comes with a cost, and I don't think it's totally unreasonable to have 7 days of noisy work done during working hours once a year. They received our offer and scolded my wife, telling us to be more considerate of our neighbors and to be very thoughtful of our next steps. Now, I'm not planning on stopping the work and paying out of pocket for the profits of their business. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Yeah, it really sounds like they're threatening you in some kind of way when they're like, ooh, you better watch your next steps. Like seriously, that is really sketchy and I would not take that lightly. So if I was in your shoes, I would start documenting everything. I would set up cameras or even record interactions if that's like allowed in your state, and just be ready for anything these idiots try to do to you. Because here's the facts. You are 100% entitled to have work done in your new home. I'm sure there's laws surrounding like loud noise or anything like that, but as long as you're working within certain hours, then I'm pretty sure there's nothing they can do about it. But I would check just to be sure, because you never know if they try to pull a fast one. So overall, I don't think you're the jerk, because I think your neighbors are being completely unreasonable. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, make sure to subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.